Hello, hello, YouTube. I am in a good mood tonight because I know we're going to have a great video covering some information that I knew about, but I haven't been covering for a while. It's Alex Jones's CIA and Special Operation Command connections. I am joined once again with my friend, Mr. Matthew North. Matthew, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on as always.
I just remembered I got to get you set up so you can see my screen and
I was going to
audio.
mention. Yeah.
There we go. And this is our fifth video we've done together. You can see here we started off Kushner, Chabad, and Alex Jones. Oh, let's share the screen. Okay, Kushner, Chabad, and Alex Jones exposed with Matthew North. 34K, the truth about Alex Jones, hashtag transgender gate explanation. 20K, what else? November 29th, Michael Cohen, Epstein, Corsi, and Trump exposed. And you were with me after my first debate with Schroyer to do... oh, wait, no, yeah, what was it? No. You were, after Schroyer talked about me when Tyler Baggins called in, you joined me to chat.
Right.
But anyway, Matthew North has an awesome YouTube channel. The links are in the description. Everybody make sure to go subscribe if you're not on already. Let's get this way up. Check out his videos. We'll show you the best ones and put the best links below to start with, the ones we're covering. And make sure to leave a comment and say that No More News sent you. So, Matt, my jaw was hitting the floor this morning. I was making breakfast, cooking eggs, with watching through the YouTube app your videos, a couple of them that I clicked watch later, and just my jaw was hitting the floor with information that I had seen from your videos before, but it's just been like a couple months, and like I'm covering so much other stuff, it kind of, was in the back of my mind and I forgot about it. And it's just like insane, this information here about Alex Jones's CIA connections.
Yeah, it's something that people tend to forget about, but I'm getting a little feedback, so I'm not sure if that's
Sounds good to me. Sound good on my end.
okay.
Everything good in the chat, guys? Oh, really a bummer being on the backup channel. Wish we could be on the main channel, but we'll maybe switch it over to there, depending on how it goes. But let's start with the video that I started with this morning, and it's Alex Jones. Oh, and by the way, also your backup channel. You've been undergoing some quite a bit of censorship. No surprise, covering what we cover. So, tell us about your backup or your channel. What happened to it and recently?
Well, it's not recent. It's been a consistent cycle of I get one. It was for a while. They're keeping me so I couldn't live stream with one strike, but now it's two strikes, and then I get the ability to upload. I might get one or two videos up, and then it's back to two strikes, and that's a long period of time. I believe it's like 3 months or something until they get lifted. So I'm still on that two strike where I can't upload on that channel. So by the end of January, I should be able to upload again. There's some videos I want to put out about the centrists rising up, the intellectual dark web, different things like that. So hopefully I'll be able to put out some more content soon.
So you're not able to post any videos at Matthew North, your main channel right now?
Not right now.
Strikes.
No. Right.
Okay. Well, then everybody go to Matthew North live. He just put up a video here the other day I wanted to go over. Alex Jones funds Mossad Tommy Robinson, or Mossad's Tommy Robinson, I guess you could say. What's in this one? Tell us about who's funding Tommy Robinson.
Well, Alex Jones claims that he's funding Tommy Robinson, which is an interesting parallel. And under my community section, if you want to go look there, there's a picture of Jones and H.L. Hunt side by side, and they're both doing this hand gesture, which is, I believe it's representing the bird of prey swooping in, which is a classic parable in Texas Freemasonry. Now, H.L. Hunt is the father of Nelson Bunker Hunt, the original financier of the CMP, and then a JBS member. And he had a tendency to fund people within his movement, and he would use the John Birch Society as a conduit. So he set up a right-wing intelligence network of radio shows, television broadcasts, and everything like we're seeing today, sort of a parallel there. So I find that interesting that they're both out of that Texas area and they're doing the same hand gestures. But this video is Jones clips from Periscope, claiming he funds Tommy Robinson, and he also gets into how he works with Dev Group, which is CIA, later on in the video.
Yeah, I also saw an article recently. Might as well bring it up and show everybody. It's Tommy Robinson, like Zionist funders or funding, and it'll come up who is funding him. It was the Middle East Forum, the Shilman, who it funds Rebel Media, and I think it was the Horowitz Foundation was the other one. I'm not finding it right now.
Well, and obviously those are going to be his main financiers. These major ultra-Zionist groups, nationalists for Israel. That's what you want. Israeli nationalism. That's what they're really pushing. But the point is, Jones is interwoven with these networks where he's dumping a lot of his money, and with his finances coming out, I'm sure we're going to find out that Jones is also connected to some ultra-Zionist organizations that get money in there somehow. It might not show up. He might be doing it through different backdoors. I put some things out on something called Infowars Technologies, and it was basically a shell company. And I would guess that he would be getting his money through some sort of backdoor like that. But it would be interesting to see what these finances bring out, whether they show direct Zionist connections or not.
Yeah, I'm really mad I can't find that article I want to show people. I'm checking on okay, here we go. There we go. The Guardian. U.S. right-wing groups. Might as well show it, right? U.S. right-wing groups bankroll campaign to free Tommy Robinson, and they're funding him all along. Right here. Middle East Forum said it had provided, and that's a Zionist organization, provided for support in 90 cases. And then, I thought this is the one. Huh. All right, maybe this isn't the article, but I remember reading it somewhere else. If anybody doesn't believe me, I'll have to put it up on Twitter. But so where's this? Let's play this video then of Alex Jones saying that he's funding Tommy Robinson.
We're getting the buffer again.
EDL, and in the EDL, Nick Griffin from the BMP said that they were basically bought out by the Zionist Organizations of America.
Yes, and you can't hammer that clip enough because it's so important to understanding the current climate. I mean, he just lays it exactly in the most simple terms of what happened here and shifting the nationalist movement to pro-Israeli nationalism.
I'm going 60 frames per second for some reason. All right. I'm known as a Zionist. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm known as a Zionist, you fool.
And those are all archived as well. So.
It's funny that after the Owen Schroyer debate, I've been getting some pathetic, pitiful Infowars comments, and I just leave them up and just laugh. Because they're like, you think everyone's a Zionist, or it's like some of them don't really understand what it means to be a Zionist, so they say things that like doesn't even make any sense. And,
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I gotta pause. Go ahead. I can back it up.
I did want to mention this. I sent you this article earlier, and what you were just touching on there. This is. Let me read this, because it's so key to understanding the current climate. When and what Infowars, the kind of paradigm they're trapped in. When the ideology of globalism is discussed in the liberty movement circles, there are often misunderstandings as to the source of the threat and what it truly represents. This may, in some cases, be by design. In the latest era of supposed populism led by figures like Donald Trump, an entirely new, very green generation of liberty activists find themselves hyper-focused on the political left in general, but they seem to be obsessed with attacking the symptoms of globalism rather than the source. I attribute this to a clever propaganda campaign by the Zionist institutions, and I would totally agree with that.
Who wrote that?
This is off of Brandon Smith, Understanding the Tactics of Subversive Globalism. It's a great article. He gets into Fabian socialism, which is what you're going to see coming up with the intellectual dark web and the centrist. When the Trump movement fails, which I believe is what's going to happen, and give a bad name to capitalism, you're going to want something different. But I would check that article out. It lays it out.
It'll be like the Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, new
Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro.
Tech Ashkenazis are the smartest crew, basically.
Yes,
Rubin, Shapiro. Yeah, I've got the photo with all them together. And that reminds me so much. I always got to show this too, from Michael Collins Piper book he wrote in 2006, or came out in 2006. He might have wrote it earlier, but this thing about how the conservatives and Fox News is the controlled opposition. They tout American ranks in line, touting the Zionist cause as an American one, a cause that is fully in line with not just making America great again. So he predicted Trump's slogan, which is Ronald Reagan's, but in reality making America an empire and one that is ruled by the Zionist elite. It's exactly what's going on with Trump. I just did the video today with his good buddy, the owner of the Patriots. And, you know, he's friends with Belichick, the coach, and Tom Brady, the star. And the coach just got an award, the Genesis Award, which is like the Nobel Prize from Israel. He was awarded from Netanyahu, who's his friend already. And Titus Frost told me that he's got a photo of, who was in the photo with him? Oh, Arnon Milchan, too. He's friends with Arnon Milchan and somebody else. So anyway, and then the New World Order, it's the longtime Zionist dream of world conquest. That's what the New World Order is, from somebody that will tell the truth about what the New World Order is, not Alex Jones, whose whole job all along was meant to deflect and actually usher it in, which you've exposed in your videos.
Yes, and I want to make a quick point. All this information's out in the open. When dealing with Infowars supporters, you have to realize that they are so subconsciously manipulated that they're pulling where 95% of your thought process operates from in your subconscious. They're pulling from Jones's paradigm. So Henrik made a good point when you're on with him on Friday, as far as taking the high road with these people and not playing into the counterpart dynamic where you're just arguing and trying to trigger someone or own them or whatever. Just play the high road with them and present the information. It's all there, and eventually, when they see enough of it, they can't deny it anymore. But if you're
that's what I tried to do with Owen. I said, I was one of you. I used to be an info warrior. I was a big fan, and it's just after seeing all the information and searching, really researching it for myself, you're left with no choice at all. And I said, just come look at the info with an open mind, and you'll be seeing the same things I'm seeing. I've gotten so many emails since that debate from people so happy. It was like a group effort. I was saying the things on Infowars that so many millions of former listeners were feeling and wish they could say too.
Yes. And shout out to the chat for making that happen. It was a total group effort. Owen mentioned before, I've been getting so many comments, and I've been called a coward for not having Adam on. So it's really a group effort by everybody. Great job. Adam killed it up there. It's just wonderful to see that kind of information coming out on that platform.
And all the other channels too that like helped me spread my work and information, that really helped hold Infowars accountable and not get away with the so obvious stuff that's going on there. Troubles happening there. Okay, so back to the info, to the juicy meat and potatoes details. This clip, let's play it right here, right? English Defense League, the true English will never abandon Israel.
Go to the UK. I've been financing with no strings attached.
No strings attached. He always likes to say that. Oh, I've been offered a bunch of money, no strings attached. Of course, I'm sure everybody offers you a bunch of money for no strings attached.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, since we're talking about that, in the debate, which wasn't much of a debate, they basically just let me talk and couldn't refute anything I said. But even though I didn't assert that who funds Infowars, which I'm slamming my head against the wall that I didn't at least mention some of the CIA Special Operations Command. That would have really been devastating.
Yeah.
And now that we're covering this, I think there's zero chance I'll ever get back on, because I think this is the serious stuff. I mean, these are admissions from Alex Jones, and they all add up perfectly. Mm-hmm. But okay, so where was I? Oh, the funding. We may be finding where the funding's coming from, because the Sandy Hook trial, which is just awful that he has to give up his documents, by the way. And I saw Daily Beast writing an article like crying that there's still Infowars videos on YouTube, and that they want to ban everything on YouTube, even other channels that are just uploading Infowars clips, unless it's like politicized or like changed or like fair used, you know? Which is so. And then they also mentioned Red Ice and said like they're allowed up, you know. So it's obvious which I was just on Red Ice saying that Alex Jones is setting the precedent to come after the rest of us.
Yep.
But anyway, so the financial documents are coming out, and his marketing documents are coming out because of this discovery lawsuit aspect of the website of the lawsuit. So what do you think? What are we going to see in these files? Anything? What's your prediction?
Well, it would be nice to see some sort of connection to the State Department, because he's operating. I think he's a gray propagandist, where it's not clear that he's directly connected to the Pentagon, but I think he certainly is, and there's a lot of evidence to back that up. So it would be nice to see some sort of State Department donations, if you will, or direct links to Zionist groups. Anybody who believes that he's getting all of his money, all of his finances for his massive operations, over 100 employees with the warehouse, beautiful studios, just a massive building. If anybody who thinks that he's getting that strictly from product sales is mistaken, because there's no chance. He's definitely getting funding from somewhere. I suspect it's State Department through different back doors, but we'll see. And also, his initial products, Fitzpatrick, and I wanted to mention him because when dealing with Alex Jones, Fitzpatrick and former, although I don't agree with him on everything, has been completely covering Jones for since like 2008 or even before then, and he's just got so much information on him, it's unbelievable. He has some data points listed out. Jones's initial products were all Zionist companies. They were all coming from Zionists, which is not a surprise when you're dealing with a JBS CMP type like Alex Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely remember hearing that. It was like 34 of his suppliers and business partners were all Ashkenazi.
Hardcore Zionists too.
Yeah. And probably all CMP like Jerome Corsi. But yeah, and the thing is so, you know, I only had 30 minutes with Owen the first time and 20 minutes the second time. So that's such little time. I was lucky to get everything I got in, but there's like, you know, we could talk for hours and hours. There's so much material exposing Jones of like legitimate, concrete, you know, verifiable stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, so here's Fitzpatrick, informer on Alex Jones. Yeah, I was looking at some of that recently too. Okay, so let's Tommy Robinson. Here we go. Thanks everyone for being with us tonight.
Robinson. And I've been financing other groups over there.
Oh man, are we gonna not get anything to play tonight?
So I'm in the UK.
All right, this is you guys can
keeps
see,
happening.
Yeah, Alex.
I don't need to fly over there to be in the UK.
Yeah, just like Israel doesn't, or you don't have to go to Israel to be shilling for Israel. You know, his favorite excuse. Oh, I've never even been to Israel.
Or Russia says that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah,
he's got that visa. So
yeah, the visa. Let me see if I can find that. I really want to show that. Hold on, that's a big thing. His wife tweeted out, and she goes, "What's this? Come on, where is it? Bingo."
Well, and also, I actually talked to Fitz about this when I had a Twitter. What's interesting about this is he actually doxed himself with this visa, and he explained why he did it, because he initially put it out. That picture taken by Zimmerman, Michael Zimmerman, is a complete mystery to me. It's almost like he's his son or something. The guy doesn't make sense. He's always with Alex on personal family vacations, really close to the family. But anyway, Zimmerman uploaded that picture to Wikipedia without Jones's knowledge. So Jones freaked out and thought someone, the left was getting his stuff, and they were gonna dox him. So he likes to get in front of things, and he released this visa, which is a Russian visa. So what is he doing with the Russian visa? You know.
Yeah. Look at this. His wife, ex-wife, 6,600 likes and almost 4,000 retweets. And I just watched a new documentary on Netflix called Active Measures, and it shows it's got clips of Alex Jones in it. It's connecting to Trump, Putin, Roger Stone, Manafort, the whole Russia, Israeli, Soviet. It was in a very, very interesting documentary. Okay, let's hope this plays.
Yeah.
Okay, this is gonna really bother me.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let's play these emails that you sent me. Okay, can we do that?
Sure.
All right.
Leftist women, like they make all these G.I. Jane movies and all this stuff. You don't want to talk about it.
Oh, pause this real quick.
Daria's
Let me get some context to this.
Yep.
Now, this is interesting. This is a woman named Daria. She was born in Russia. She's a Russian citizen. Now, he will divulge how she was in the highest level, and this is confirmed, highest level special forces in the U.S. Army. Okay, Jones, his staff is media, then you have the warehouse people, and then you have the military people. And there are a ton of high-level military people working at Infowars. Why is that?
And that's in his words. He says that often, and that he has all the CIA family, his cousin, his dad, the people he knew in his family. You got all the clips. You compile them, and there is no denying it. He admits it outright. It's all out there. It's no secret.
Now, if you wouldn't think that this woman would be and she's very pro-Russia, openly super pro-Russia. If you don't think she wouldn't have been contacted by Russian intelligence to be a double agent, and her allegiance is obviously to her homeland. She talks about it all the time, or used to. So I think she is probably a Russian asset as well. I mean, that's safe to assume. A female in a position that's very rare. He'll get into that. But also another point I wanted to make with these Russian women working with the alt-right. It's an interesting thing. It's almost like like Richard Spencer. His wife was like a Russian mail-order bride, and then Posobiec has like a Ukrainian. It's like, where are they getting these women from?
How about the new girl, like the gun activist, like Butino or something?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's a foreign agent. I'm sorry. I don't care if you don't like it. That's a foreign agent operating within our country, or potentially subversive agent. Interacting with the NRA. So, and they love the conservative movements, just like the Trotskyites, because why would you present yourself as a communist? You got to present yourself as a nationalist.
Mm-hmm. And that made me think of an article here. The Times of Israel. Russian spokeswoman says Jews behind Trump win. Interesting that they say this. Russian spokeswoman says Jews behind Trump win, and then also the ex-Mossad head came out and said that Russia ran Trump. So it's like both sides are blaming the other sides.
And when we're talking about Russia, what we're talking about is Soviet Israel. It's the same entity, essentially. Russia's just kind of a smokescreen for them to operate. Israel's a backdoor into the West. That's really what it was set up for.
Via religion, via Christian Zionism.
Exactly. And you really started seeing it take hold with Reagan. During that, when they kind of revamped the whole Republican Party.
Yeah, Reagan and Roger Stone, his little prodigy there, right? Yeah. Ex-Mossad head, Russia decided Trump was their best. And it's also crazy that like kind of the Zionists, Alex Jones, Breitbarts, they all blame 9/11 on Saudi Arabia, but then the king of Saudi Arabia blamed 9/11 on Israel too. So it's like they're always pointing fingers at one another. Just an observation. Anyway, okay. All right, so Daria, Infowars employee. Was that all the context? Should we play it? It's
yeah,
like
go ahead.
Long. All right, let's play this, please.
Leftist women, like they make all these G.I. Jane movies and all this stuff. You don't want to talk about it. But Daria is one of the only people ever, not just in your regular special forces, but all the way at the top of it. And she's a great patriot, and she's a Russian American whose parents came here to leave communism. And she's a great patriot.
Obey me.
That's right. I get all my orders from the Russian right here. But no, maybe Daria, tell people about all these fake liberal women out there. I agree, but I know you don't like to get in the military thing, but it's very interesting. And plus, with the branding of the show we're going to launch, I know it's all classified and I'm supposed to get into it, but I know people that were like in the same groups you were in. And the point is, how many women would you say were in the highest level of military special operations you've been in?
I mean, there are very few. They're like 0.1% of the military.
And then
women in the military.
And then how many are in that group?
No, there's like, you can count them with one hand.
And that was because of all your training, all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
Well, Matt has a lot of things to say.
And he does. Can you imagine the leftists if they could try to get a woman like you as their poster child? I'm just saying, you don't write books, any of that stuff, but just for people that don't know it, you tell them your experiences without getting into it, like about what's really going on behind the scenes.
Well, no, I mean, I don't.
Not specifically with that, but just women in the military.
I mean, they're tough things you have to do, and you know, you can't actually think that. I actually wish he would.
And Matt, you were in Delta Force. Tell us about it. You're the only man ever in Delta Force.
Never in the military, but I come from a family with a military background, so I've got a respect for everybody who's in the military.
Was he could have been joking there, but I also think that guy could be denying it. If you see Daria, she gets really nervous. They're not supposed to talk about their service because they're still active, working in the information warfare operation.
I wanted to say that I remember that I think it was Kelly Jones, that's Alex's ex-wife, and Daria got into like a Twitter beef before about she was accusing her of being a Russian agent or something, and Daria was tweeting back at her.
So did Beckford, Ashley Beckford. You remember the black girl that worked there for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, she said the same thing, and she got an inside perspective on it. So I would be shocked if Russian intelligence or Israeli didn't approach her. It would make no sense to me because her obvious loyalty to them. I don't see how you wouldn't think that she would be. And an interesting video Jones did, obviously he's joking with a lot of this stuff, but he did one where she's his handler, and he's like a mind control thing. Obviously satire, obviously a joke, but I believe there's some shreds of truth in there. And if he's trying to get in front of it and make it turn into a joke, I think there's a lot more to it.
Yeah. And here's something else really interesting that Alex Jones's wife shared, and this is Sinclair Broadcasting Group incepted by X, Alex Jones' first mainstream large syndication. They brought him into the mainstream in many ways. And he's Trump's propaganda mouthpiece and Israel's, or, Trump is Israel's candidate. I don't see how anyone cannot be alarmed. We are alarmed, Kelly. Kelly's scared to talk to me for some reason too, which almost creeps me out. I think she's scared of talking about the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah. Do we want to mention Genesis at this point, as far as the origins of Jones's start?
Sure.
Should we mention that?
Yeah. By the way, also the Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots today, won the Genesis Award, and I was just reading last night about how Adnan Khashoggi, who is like connected to Mossad, I guess, has all of these companies that are called Genesis, and Alex's company is Genesis Network. And tell us, you have a video about some info about Ted Gunderson, the owner, right?
Oh, yeah, I have that. Go ahead and play that clip if you can, real quick, because that's a really important one.
Which one?
It should say Ted Anderson.
That's the one you just sent me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
One time I had dinner with a former psychiatrist that worked for the State Department. He told me about the Tavistock Institute. This is about 20 years ago with Ted Anderson. First time I visited Minnesota, he wanted me to meet the station owner. And I went and met the guy. He was a very intelligent, very smart guy. And I looked him up. He was famous. And he just said, Alex, just start researching what they're doing to the kids. He goes, I can't tell you. But he started cussing. He just goes, it's the most horrible thing. They're going to end the families, confuse everything. They're teaching them to blah, blah, blah. And I kind of knew about it, but I didn't really know. This is a guy that worked with the Tavistock Institute. There's no way he's alive now. He was really old. And then Ted Anderson said, hey, this station owner wants to talk to you. And if you'll meet with him, he'll put you on a station. And I went and met with him. He put us on late at night or whatever the point was, is that Ted was there. I ought to have Ted on to tell the story. I forget that guy's name.
Anyway, the main
Really
point
old.
there was
But
what he said there initially. He said Ted Anderson. It was in Minnesota, and I'm going to read about Genesis here in a second because Khashoggi's heavily involved with the CMP as well. If I ever am able to get my CMP video out, that's all documented in there. But he says Ted Anderson wanted me to meet with the station owner. Okay, Ted Anderson's supposed to be the owner, and the station owner is this Tavistock psychiatrist you know, that Jones is meeting with. So is Ted Anderson the owner? Because he always tries to move away from the Khashoggi thing, because people have been pointing this out for a long time. So Khashoggi's Genesis scams are an intricate web of rapidly changing corporate fronts and dummy corporations with the word Genesis in their name, involved in wholesale criminal fraud, which is typical Russian mafia tactics that look like or Jewish mafia that look like a textbook example of consulting a continuing criminal enterprise. From their base in Tampa, Florida, which is also the base of Special Operations Command, Khashoggi and his right man El Baturi controlled a network of companies, all using the word Genesis in their name. The number of Khashoggi-owned Genesis companies kept growing. There's Genesis Aviation. Now that's important because Genesis Aviation was sheep-dipping planes with H.L. Hunt's daughter, the initial financer of the CMP and JBS number, and they were shipping in cocaine. They got busted in 2006 with a ton of cocaine. So you have H.L. Hunt's daughter and Khashoggi flipping planes back and forth, sheep dipping them, and she got caught because she owned the plane at the time. So that's interesting that it's a massive criminal enterprise. So also Genesis Diversified Instrument, Genesis Studios, Production Corporation, Genesis Media Group, Genesis Properties, Genesis Intermedia, and GenesisIntermedia.com. And the list goes on and on and on. And then there's Genesis Communications. There's actually two seemingly unrelated, similarly unrelated, but they're extremely similar in the fraud department to one another, to the Saudi Genesis. The relationship. So we're seeing. So Alex Jones got his start at Genesis Communications, which is a Patriot website, which hosts Alex Jones and other CNP associated people. So that clip where he's saying he got a start at Genesis, that's very interesting. So is Ted Anderson not the owner, and what kind of operation are they running out of there? Obviously, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish.
Obviously, there's some sort of psychological operation going on here.
I 100% believe it after watching your videos today that we're about to get into now, finally, 32 minutes in. We're not rushing through this one, guys, because we got to get it all out on the table. We don't want to miss anything. So I want to finish up with this, though. Sinclair, and they were in the news because they own all of the local news, and they were reading the same exact script, and it was a big story. And that's who first syndicated Alex Jones. And on the board of there is a guy named Friedman, who is from APEC. He was a director at APEC. And I think he joined in 2015, which is like the same time that Jones really, really like took off the mask completely and just started. Wouldn't you agree? Right, Matt?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go.
I wasn't sure if you're going to bring up like Trump. Do you have the like tweets that Trump said about Genesis and all that stuff? Were you going to talk about that?
I didn't know there was any.
Oh, yeah. So Kushner cut a deal with them back in, I believe, 2015 it was as well. And Trump constantly promoted them. And so did Alex. Alex constantly promoted them as well.
And which Genesis is this?
No, this is Sinclair.
Oh, Sinclair Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Alex Jones is promoting them.
Yes. Talk about that. They do it right. They do it right with the constant propaganda, which is exactly what he does with his information. This is a good clip too. With his mindware operation, where it's just constant over and over and over again, bombarding your subconscious. So all you have to select from, right, where your 5% of your conscious thinking comes from, is Infowars, John Burke Society style kosher conspiracy talking points. Like I said before, the fruit looks good, but it's poisonous. If you eat it, it'll kill you because you don't understand the real truth.
Yeah, his job all along. I think back, like he got pretty famous early on with like Waco, and then also he confronted Bush really early on, and then the New World Order back then, and they had the Noahide laws and stuff, and the New World Order push, and his fame rose talking about the police state and martial law, and now it's like he's calling for all those things, and you've got all the clips of him calling for these things. It's incredible. Like the guy that's supposedly exposing 9/11 and the New World Order is the one that's going to be actually ushering it in. It was working with them as a Judas goat all along.
Yeah. And by the way, let me mention something about that, because that him confronting Bush is that was key to his growth. That was at DuPont. Those are CMP. The DuPont family is heavily associated with the CMP, and that was, I mean, watch that. That was so staged. They knew he was going to walk up there and do that. Bush also got blessings from the CMP, and they promoted him. And then I also have a clip of Jones saying that he got visited by a couple marshals, U.S. Marshals, to promote George Bush, and he kind of did at the time. If you go back to the shows, he was talking, it's better than the left. It's that same old argument. So I think you see the CMP acting as a conduit there again.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, speaking of the left and the right and the dialectic, I had always heard like the Churchill letter that it's Zionism like verse Bolshevism. But Christopher John Burkus has an article out right now, and it's that they're working together off one another. One's just the secular messianism, like as Prager calls it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What is this one? Tell us about this. This clip.
This is interesting because this is Jones saying that his information, his John Burke Society material, the kosher conspiracy points, which is what the John Burke Society always did, was required viewing for the military at one point, and that they were running psyops, and that he was being manipulated by people in the military, if you listen to what he says here. And that's a classic tactic where they were implementing John Burke Society propaganda with troops. And that led them to be very pro-Israel, to weaken their government within as well, because it's the evil left. That's the best way to weaken a government within, to point out your own government's corruption without understanding that it's these bankers that have a stranglehold over our country, and they're the ones that are really doing it. It's not leftists. It's the same tribe.
Okay, so let's hope this one plays.
Different groups. I've had all these, Navy SEALs and Delta Force guys on. They don't tell you who they are when they're on the show, but they go, no, I was like in covert operations in Southeast Asia, or I was in, Europe, or I was here or there. And, I had the local CIA head guy come by and go, listen, Infowars.com, this guy knows what's going on, decompartmentalization, this is really what's going on. And it wasn't that I was even that great of a guy. I was just willing to talk about it. And they kind of made it a joke early on, so it got out big. And I also think there was some psyops by patriots inside. We didn't have a very big audience. I was on a few radio stations here in Texas and things like 1996, 97, and I made some films. And then they ordered the Marine Corps wide, and then the Army not to watch Alex Jones videos. Well, suddenly I was going from like 50 orders a day to 500 a day, and it was all going to Marine Corps bases and Army bases.
Pause it real quick.
Because I didn't know that that's what this clip was, but I've heard him say this many times before. Yes. And I was just going to mention this before the clip started as you set up. I was going to say this.
But also, he always says that his initial his kickstart came from selling films, where he made millions of dollars selling films. Well, who is he selling them to? In his own words, the military. So he's being funded by the military at the very least through film sales. So they're giving him money in one way or another from the very beginning.
Let me throw this in here. This is what came to my mind. The new X-Files new reboot, how there was a character that was played by Mikhail something that was like 100% Alex Jones. The creator of the show said it was based off of Alex Jones. He was working with the government, like being the conspiracy guy, and he turned out to be right about a bunch of stuff and was the real deal. And then remember, X-Files also had 9/11, the hijacked plane going into the building 6 months before 9/11 happened. So it's just like, it's like the Illuminati card game almost, is how trippy it is.
Yes.
Because they'd have a colonel come in and go, we caught somebody looking at an Alex Jones video. America's robot designed. Who did it? Well, I did it. You got PT duty and you got to run these laps, you little piece of crap. Nobody watches them. And then the colonel would go, there's 5 copies over there. I don't want any copies made of that. Do you understand? And I remember hearing that, and like Marines would show up. People I knew in the family were like, yeah.
He's basically saying that they knew the Streisand effect was going to happen. It was the rollout to give it to all the young Marines, essentially.
Yes, which is a classic, again, once you understand the history of this, it's a classic John Burke Society tactic where they would do it with the troops. And that's the best way to start domestically with your troops, with your military.
He's not saying that, like, the military really was trying to hide his information and didn't want them to see it. They were saying that, but given a little wink, as in they knew that they were promulgating it out to the ranks.
Exactly.
At least that's what he says in his own words. So unless he's lying, oh boy.
I'm at Fort Sam Houston, or or whatever that college is. Not Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, I think in East Texas, and they got all these foreign military people, and also they're putting up a PowerPoint going, now don't listen to Alex Jones, because he says there's a plan to use the military to take over and take the guns, and that's a conspiracy theory. And he says there's a plan to put brains in troops' brains, but that'll never happen because we're not going to put up with it. But he's a liar. And the weird globalist Satanists only look at paper. See, they know how to deceive by inverting, but they actually don't even know when people are being sarcastic.
He's saying he's being sarcastic right now? Is that what he's saying? And I love how he says deceive by inverting, because I know I've been noticing that going on too. But he doesn't say who's the masters of that.
I don't think yeah. There's just one more point he makes here where he says, and at this level, I don't even know what's going on. So he's obviously being manipulated.
Right. Definitely, yeah. It's been such a, I was thinking about it the other day. Like, this has been a long time coming for me, because I started my YouTube channel making a documentary called The Conspiracy Theory Conspiracy, and there was so much material about Alex Jones in that, of being attacked as a conspiracy theorist, that I put out a whole video of its own with Alex Jones versus the mainstream media. So I was studying him and so fascinated on his if he was legitimate on Israel and or really a Zionist or not for so long, and doing videos about it, kind of defending him, but also going he's gets so much promotion in the media. It's like he's being propped up, and then just studying it so much and realizing I was an expert in Alex Jones's media persona before he was known to the mainstream media at all, essentially. I believe you were too. When did you first start listening to Infowars?
Hardcore about 2014.
Okay, well I started way earlier than 2008.
Yeah.
In 2008, you were what? How old? 10 years old?
Was, whatever, fifth grade, whatever that is.
Yeah, you weren't listening to Alex Jones in fifth grade, man. You're a late bloomer.
But I went back and watched all those old shows. I've spent so much time going through all that stuff.
Me too. Yeah, even though I started in 2008, I consumed everything I could that was out there, essentially, including all the stuff saying that he was a Zionist agent and every other Jesuit, everything under the sun. Although the Jesuit ones were always awful. All right, let's try to finish up this last point.
Because they're on such power trips, they believe the orders are being followed, and then all it was a thing to get the whole military warned by people that knew better than I did. I was just a guy that was saying it, so they go, give him more information. So all these people gave me all this info, and they said, we're going to use him to warn everybody, and then we destroy him in the media. That'll actually build him up. So then I actually sit back and I go, now, well, even what is this at this level? But then I know it's the globalists, because they now figured it out, and they're panicking. I was not that special. I didn't even know that much. But the Patriot establishment looks at pedigree like dogs, what they've done before, and they said, this is the guy to give the information to. He's young, he's dumb, he's on the air at 22, he's already broken through, give him everything. And so I wasn't given money or finance or anything, I was just given this and that and this and that and all the intel. And then at key points when I was going to be destroyed, they'd stop it from happening.
So this is your video on Matthew North's channel. I'll put the link in the description. Alex Jones exposed CIA SAD, which is...
No, he wouldn't be SAD. That would be Special Activities Division. Those are the killers. Those are the people. But he has a lot of them on his show, and he's surrounded by them. Now, PAG's Political Action Group, which works with those people, which we see all the time. I have clips of Jones saying that we start with the information warfare, and then if that doesn't work, then we move to violence in the streets and the executive orders that they signed. So those are two hand in hand. When he's talking about working with dev group people, that is SAD PAG. So,
okay, what's this first clip that he starts with here?
I can't hear it. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, I thought you knew. All right, here we go.
Stuff that's off the chart.
Family members worked for the CIA during the 1980s.
Yeah, there's all sorts of weird experiments going on, and just stuff that's off the chart, and it's industrial level.
Okay, so this is where he says that his dad was connected to the CIA.
Yep.
I'm not bragging when I say that when in the 80s, it's late 80s, my mom and dad had multiple discussions, and my dad would say, let's talk about it privately and stuff like that, with my mom, so I never even heard all of it. He won't talk about it today, where the CIA tried to hire him, because I had some family that did stuff for the CIA, to be inducted in Maryland into literal below-ground bases for a 4-year secret tour. And they were hiring other top dentists that were pioneering implants. My dad pioneered implants and taught it at medical school and all that. And it was literally, they just said it's cybernetics, it's highly advanced, and he was, and it was $400,000 a year, way more money than he was making then. And he owned dental offices. And he said no, because my dad did work at the medical school. He was someone who would do medical procedures on high-level CIA people. They would come into him, and then they would not allow deadening. They would have people there watching while he did procedures on people, just because they can't be put on. That was back during the Cold War, and so my dad did do that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So just real quick about his dad and his dental offices. First off, I think his dad is associated with the JBS in some way.
He said it. I've seen clips of him over the years for sure saying, oh, yeah, my dad and all his JBS, John Birch Society friends were always sitting around the table, and I'd listen in, and I'd read his books and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then also Infowars, the website, was set up at his dad's dentist office. That came out, and then if you read, which is interesting, so he's got a CIA-associated father setting up, or him with his dad at his dentist office. It's
and
almost
his cousin.
like
His CIA-connected cousin.
Buckley, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like that dentist office is a front. I have no proof of that, but also if you read the reviews, this is just a funny point. If you read the reviews about his dentist office, they're horrible. It's the worst reviews I've ever seen. So that's interesting. It's like, why would they not care about their dentistry work? And then they're setting up Infowars at the dentist office. Like, how does that follow? So that's just
how do you know he set it up at the dentist office?
I forgot what it's called, but you can check and see where a domain was registered. And people have done that.
Okay. All right.
I didn't even tell him this, but the whole point is that what that guy was talking about, I mean, it's reportedly really bad what's going on now. I mean, you name it, Island of Dr. Maru.
Okay.
Listen, let's get serious about this.
So we've seen this one a bunch of times. This is on Opie and Anthony. Some girl says that he's a joke and he makes conspiracies look stupid, right?
Then he says half the people at my family reunions are CIA.
Okay.
It will underscore it, put 100 exclamation points behind it. They'd rather do what the White House regulations said they would do, put out fake conspiracy theories, so outlandish it outrages pea-brains.
Or they could just put you at the Boston Marathon and have a bomb blow up and kill you, just like they tried to kill my
Sorry,
friend,
ma'am.
right?
I'm not really into marathons.
That's a funny response.
What I'm saying is, if the government wanted you gone, you'd be gone. But they think you're so fucking crazy and such a lunatic that they don't give a shit about you.
Ma'am, let me tell you something. I'm going to be honest with you. When I go to a family reunion...
You're not being honest this entire time. You like to dance around shit and fucking...
She runs all over him. I love this. He can't mute her. Like it's on his show.
I grew up
Good
in
for
Dallas,
you. Do you want a medal?
No, let me tell you a story. I grew up in Dallas, Texas with my family. Let me just say something. I grew up in Dallas, Texas with my family doing things like helping take in East German defectors, okay? Whenever I go to a family reunion, half the people in the room are former retired CIA. What? And do you know what they tell me?
Okay, every time he goes to a reunion, half of his family is former CIA.
And also another important point there is they were taking in East German defectors. So
Yeah,
that's a Soviet connection right there, early on. in his life.
Right. Also, I want to mention Anthony Acumia, who is from Opie and Anthony. Now he's a host on Infowars sometimes.
Yes.
He guest hosts. And back in the day on 9/11, he pushed all of the anti-9/11. He would have Shermer on, I believe. He had the super, or the scientist Asian guy that's like the astrophysicist or whatever, saying some stupid stuff about 9/11. They got in a big fight with Jesse Ventura over 9/11, and then now he's on Infowars to show how much Infowars has changed, that hosts were trashing 9/11 years ago. Just like Hannity. The other day, Jones says that he likes Hannity and Tucker, and Roger Stone was close friends with Roger Ailes, and it's just like, wait a second, Fox News used to be the Judas Goats, the Bill O'Reilly, the Glenn Beck, Hannity, all the worst Zionist neocons.
There's clips of Tucker talking trash about Jones, calling him completely insane.
Yeah.
So
and doing the same thing, fighting with guys about Building 7 and refusing to play the video, and then years later going, oh, I've never even seen Building 7, when he was trashing somebody on Building 7 years ago on the news on MSNBC with his cute little bow tie from his Voice of America, which you say in one of your videos you think Infowars is like the new Voice of America, and I agree.
He uses the Voice of America broadcasting system. He uses their old broadcasting system. He pays money to use that old broadcasting system. So that's an issue. And then his wife was connected to VOA too. His current wife.
All right. So that's all from this clip, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Dead on, 100% absolutely
There
right
you go.
about what I'm covering.
Okay, they say he's right.
For real, I guess.
Cell phone.
Ciao.
So there's his
Alex
dad.
Jones's.
There's his dad, and then this is his half sister that he always brags was
On his mother's
from,
side.
what does he say she's from? Adopted Asian?
Yeah, Korean.
And what was her connection?
The Korean woman?
Oh no, she had the Korean woman. She works for
oh no, you're thinking of Verna Grace Chow.
Oh, okay. I thought that was his sister, his half sister.
No, I think it's his cousin.
Okay.
He does have a Korean adopted sister or something like that.
Okay, get it mixed up then. Never mind. But then that was Buckley Hammond, which is there's a clip that you have where it says that his dad was accused of working for the CIA, and he had some radio down in South America, and he helped him set up Infowars, and now is back.
Yeah, he was CIA. William Hammond Biff was totally CIA. Everything about him, and Jones has talked about it multiple times since then. I don't think I saved the clips, but he pretty much admits that the guy was CIA, and which is also interesting because the JBS CMP types were operating in South America during that time period. So yeah, his dad got, I believe, kicked out of the country, or he had all of his equipment confiscated because they claimed he was a CIA agent, and he fits the bill.
Definitely. So creepy. Okay, so do you know what this one is, or we'll just play it and pause it? Just anytime you want me to pause, just speak up, okay?
All right.
My cousin, Buckley Hammond, who grew up the first 5, 6, 7 years, I don't know, of his life in Guatemala, is just going to give you a little perspective.
Yeah, my dad had been a ham radio since he was young. He was actually
the youngest guy in Texas ever, I think in the country, actually.
Exactly. He was one of the youngest people to ever get a ham radio license, and obviously he operated a ham radio.
Okay, we basically just said
Jones
that whole thing.
in the description. I will also link every interview activities. I say 6 description. This link will be in the description as well.
Okay, who is this woman? She works for Dell.
Yeah. If you can just kind of play that little section there, it does a good job of explaining how she's most likely a CIA asset as well.
All of those links will be in the description for fact checking.
If you go back a little
from
bit,
a journalist who sat in on a Dell very similar to Edward Snowden's pen, and was employed by Dell for 6 years.
How is she connected to Alex Jones?
That's his cousin.
Okay.
And IBM. 2 corporations that are very...
Just tell us, what is it? IBM?
I would have to, because I haven't watched this video in so long.
Oh,
I would
really?
have to.
I thought you just put it up. Isn't this one of your
No,
newest videos? No,
this is one of my older ones.
Oh, my bad. Okay. All right.
And then that's her friend hanging out with Warren Buffett. They're good friends with Warren Buffett.
Okay. All right,
Warren
here we go.
Buffett's.
Here's another good clip. I'm basically just, I thought about going through and getting all of your good clips where he talks about Special Operations Command and all of this military stuff and just putting it together all, like No More News style with some music and stuff, because I have been missing this info, and it's some of the best stuff. I'm really upset with myself that I've been overlooking some of this stuff.
But I'm not going to go into a little
go
to the head of the line.
This, I forgot about this. I could have been using this in clips. This is when
Yeah.
Jeremy Roth-Kushel calls in.
Oh, is this Jeremy?
I thought it
I didn't
was.
even. I think it is. I think you're right. I didn't even know who he was at the time.
I believe it is, but tell us in the chat, guys. Oh, and by the way, we almost have like 900 in the chat, which is awesome for
Nice.
the backup channel. Thumbs up, guys. I can only imagine how much better it would be if we were on the main channel. I think I got another 2 months still, and hopefully we get it back and can keep it for a while once the strike runs off.
Have some close ties to Warren Buffett.
All right, now I'm going to go to these callers here. I don't care if people disagree with me. In fact, I'll go to the head of the line if you do. But I'm not going to go into a little victory lap about how I'm a Russian agent or I'm an Israeli agent. If you want to get to topics of why you don't like Israel or why you do,
How sad is that you have to go to calls by giving a warning out that you don't want to hear people saying you're an agent, that you're a Jewish agent, and all of his videos on YouTube, they always used to be full of comments saying the same stuff, and even the thumbs down. He had a video, I have it downloaded and so many screenshots to save it so it's not down the memory hole. It's in 2015, a video saying, "I am not a Zionist." And then it was the thumbs down. There was way more. Every top comment was like calling him out on it. It was great.
Well, you and I have talked about this before, and also that's very important that you did that, because otherwise, like you said, it would totally be down the memory hole, and people wouldn't know. With his own website, he took away all the comments, you know, and you can't back up in his stream, so
can't even see how many people are watching live. I don't think I might be wrong about that actually, but I know for a fact that you can't comment live underneath. Okay, we'll play this now.
That's fine. I'm just not going to do the, you're a Vatican agent, you're a Russian agent, you're a Jewish agent. I've already heard it all. I'm an agent of the Republic, of prosperity, of justice. That's what I stand for. I built this myself with the listeners. I know people that live in their mother's basements can't believe that.
Who could believe that the king of conspiracy would use the ad hominem attack that people that claim he's an agent are living in their mother's basements? Like, that's the mainstream media slur that they give to Alex Jones supporters, and now he's using the same thing, showing how the tables have turned.
My favorite one is they're mentally ill, the mental illness.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. He loves using that one for people who point out international, you know.
Or comparing them to Nazis and white supremacists.
Right.
Or he says the right's anti-Semitic, the left's anti-Semitic, everybody's, the UN's anti-Semitic. He literally regurgitates ADL talking points. You're just jealous. You're jealous of their success. That's, you know, they get blamed for everything. They're held to a different standard than other countries. All this kind of stuff.
They have their higher IQs.
Higher IQs, yeah, definitely. You know, they have the right to the land there and everything. It's their land, like he said way early on. Always been a Zionist. But then, like, I got a clip of Piper, and at times he would admit stuff. Was it just, you think, admitting the bare minimum that everybody else already knew so he could try to kind of keep his credibility?
It's damage control too. Yeah, absolutely. Because people has been calling him for. I mean, the conspiracy climate was way different back then. A lot more people were aware to the actual truth. But yeah, it's and then he'll like to like gloss over something, like say something one time and just hammer on other stuff that's not important. But then he'll, like, 10 years later something happens. He goes, "See, I was talking about that 10 years ago." And there's just one little example of him doing it. So he can use it as, you know, sort of some credibility. And then I also think it's damage control too, to make him seem like he's not a shill. You know,
I think that might be why they allowed me on, is because I was inflicting too much harm against them, that they wanted to like neutralize me by saying like, "Oh, see, look, we had them on for 20 minutes, and you know, they're carrying on as if it never happened, though."
Yeah, and then the next day they started off, because I would like to see what their numbers were that night. I bet they were probably close to double what they usually get. But then the next day. They come on, and it's Alex on for a little bit. He's sweating like crazy. He looked horrible. And then Owen shifted. He started the conversation, talked about Rogan for a second, then shifted the conversation into a pure spiritual one. And that's one of Jones's favorite defense tactics, is talk about the spiritual, you know, and then use the Bible as a weapon. You know, you're a Christian. You don't question the Jews. Jesus was a Jew. They love doing that, and that just plays at people's emotions.
Yeah, he tries to get like very, not like metaphysical, but like esoteric. Those aren't the right words, but yeah, I know what you're saying. He tries to get like deep and have like an insightful talk, which, you know, I don't watch Infowars at all anymore, but when I do, it's absolutely awful. Like how they just, it's nothing but pro-Trump, like the most boring, repetitive talking points. You know, trying to figure out his psyche and how Trump's so great and everybody's against him, and the left is all the problems, and
the Chinese. It's nonstop Chi-Com. So let's not mention Israel's connection with China. You know, let's not do that. Let's not go on securingourinstinct.org and look at all these connections that are there. You know, let's just ignore those. It's just the Chi-Coms.
Right. Okay, here we go. Back to this. This is This is a good one. I believe this is Jeremy Roth Kushel, and he actually devastates him. I got to call in and top this off. This is my next. Yeah. If they're not going to have me on, I'm calling in by any means necessary to roast Jones worse than ever.
Anybody could actually do something on their own, but I believe in you. So you have free speech. We don't screen your calls. But I'm not going to sit here and hear the mental illness. Okay? If you want to say something bad about Israel or good, that's fine. My point is, I'm an honorable person. I told you why I'm against overthrowing Israel. It's going to start a frickin' nuclear war. Same reason I don't want to have a war with Russia. This is the reality. Israel's not going anywhere. Why is Obama Machiavellingly doing this now? To create a giant crisis. They're shooting down Russian aircraft.
All he's talking about that Obama did was he abstained from vetoing a resolution about settlements. That's all he was doing.
Yeah, and then Obama gives a bunch of money to Israel. There's no difference there. Yeah. You know, he pandered at AIPAC.
He was handled by Rahm Emanuel, and you can literally go to Chicago Tribune and it says Obama, the first Jewish president.
Well, and then people
the Saltzmans and others. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
A lot of people say don't punch right. Why are you going after the right? All this stuff because it's the most. Look at the amount of progress we've made as a community. You getting on Infowars, we've made more progress here than the majority of people for decades. You know, we're starting to inject the narrative into the controlled opposition. Republicans, these Trump Republicans, could be so useful because they understand the sort of the major components of the truth. But they don't understand that it's the same lobby. The issue with our country is not the communist Chinese dictating our country. It's the same Zionist, if you will, lobby that control both the left and the right. They have different narratives, but then they just want to sit there and hammer the left and fight with the left while our country is being chopped up and sucked dry. You know,
we need to separate the real America first, the people that care about America and not allegiance to a foreign country, and really separate and not allow the real MAGA people to be duped by the fake, Zionist MAGA people.
Exactly. And that's how you really make a difference, because the information's on our side. If we get the information to them and we shift people to our sides and get the numbers that he had at his peak, I mean, man, we could really make a difference here.
Yeah, I think that also is contributing to how we're able to have an effect on Infowars, is because they've fallen from grace so much. He's had an awful year with catastrophe after catastrophe, and we'll see where it's all going. But here, let's continue on with this.
They're killing Russian ambassadors. All hell's breaking loose. The head banker for NATO just got murdered today, executed in Belgium. This is the real world. Jeremy in Kansas, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Jeremy.
Oh.
Yes, Alex. Thank you. If we want to turn Trump into an asset of the republic rather than a tool of vulture billionaires, the military-industrial complex, and the Zionist power configuration, then you're going to have to start telling the truth.
Did you see that? Great job, Jeremy. Jeremy is awesome. Did you see Jones rolling his eyes when Jeremy said that Trump is a Zionist?
Well, then another tactic he did, he obviously got screened before, and he mentioned some of the stuff he was going to talk about, but Jones also hyped it up to where it's like there's so much more important things going on than naming the Jays. Mm-hmm. You see how he did that? He hyped it up. It's the real world. It's chaos. Everybody's dying. Mm-hmm. People are getting killed. Now let's talk about Trump being a shill. He tries to shift the narrative to there's more important issues than understanding the controlled opposition. He tries to gas it up like what you're about to talk about isn't important.
Yep. Yeah, he already he did the same thing before Jeremy Roth Kushel's co-host over at the Antidote did when he called in Greg McCarran. He did the same thing. He knew Greg McCarran. They screened the call. They knew it was a antagonistic call. And he said a bunch of stuff, did a whole spiel beforehand to try to pre-refute everything he was going to say. But this is the face of a traitor that rolls his eyes. It's like, is there any question that Trump is a Zionist? I mean, come on now. Did you know that Nikki Haley, the Sanhedrin, just announced that Nikki Haley is their honorary ambassador to the 70-country United Nations that they want? Did you know that?
No, I didn't. But right before she left, she was at a CNP meeting, and then she moved on to bigger and better things, she said. So it might be this. That's very interesting. And I think she's actually one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. Like, I think she actually really has a low IQ, and she just gets fed, you know, whatever they want her to do, and she does it. I mean, watch the video with her and Netanyahu. I mean, it's so hard. It's so hard to watch.
She says, and on her way out, remember what she said, which just totally falls in line with my whole Kushner theory, that Kushner is a genius. And then just recently, another politician came out and said that Kushner is like the best negotiator ever, you know, and that's why he got the great award, the best award ever from Mexico. Here it is, breaking Israel news. Sanhedrin invites Nikki Haley to be honorary president of their Noahide laws. Sanhedrin, based in Jerusalem, end times prophecy is prophesied by Isaiah with the temple and the Moshiach. She's their honorary president. And this what?
Go ahead.
This is a woman that Mike Cernovich and Jack Posobiec called the Slay Queen, and their audience votes that they would want to vote for her for president.
What's wrong with the Noahide laws, though? Is there an issue with them?
One of them is that if you speak harshly against the Moshiach and the temple and rabbis and Judaism, that you get the death penalty, is what they say. And I don't even know how to pronounce it. Maomides or something like that. The Maomides. It's one of their, something like the Talmud or part of the Sanhedrin or something like that. But that's who said it. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Nikki Haley honorary. Let's get back to this.
Then you're going to have to start telling the truth about Zionist power in the United States of America.
Okay, you're on the air. Did you hear what I said?
So he cuts him off and goes, "You're on the air." That's his whole response the whole time. That's like what Owen did to me. "You're here. Stop calling us Zionists. What you're saying is kind of true, and you have a point. And I can't say that you're wrong about any of the things you said." Maimonides, yeah, that's how it is. But you're here. We let you on. We got nothing to hide. It's too little, too late, and too far in between, or too far and few between. Go ahead.
That's another tactic they do. Just like when you went on with Owen, initially it's you have the floor. They're trying to stump you. Obviously you were prepared, so you killed it. But he was trying to do the same thing here. You're on the air. Like, he's trying to get you to think that there's all these people listening to you to make you stumble. That's something I've seen him do time and time again with these people. Obviously it doesn't work with Jeremy, but...
Thank God it didn't work with me. It did shock me a little bit. I was like, I thought I was like walking into a trap, and the trap was, you have the floor. Go ahead.
You can say whatever you want, but this BS about me, you're on the air. You're being listened to right now, big man.
Yeah, so the main group that's very dangerous around Trump is the Netanyahu faction. This goes down into Trump's deputy campaign manager, Michael Glasser, who is actually the deputy under Eisenberg, who transferred the real estate to Trump's good friend Larry Silverstein weeks before it was blown into smithereens on live television with thousands of living human beings on it.
And Lou Eisenberg was like the campaign chairman for Trump's Trump for Victory campaign. Lou Eisenberg, the guy at the Port Authority that handed it over to Larry Silverstein.
This man, Michael Glasser, also worked for the parent company of Genie Energy, which has massive energy interests in the Golan Heights.
Michael Glasser, he was a regional director at APEC. Now he was Trump's campaign manager for the last election and the next election. APEC to Trump's campaign manager, and he worked for Genie Energy with his Rothschild, Dick Cheney, Rupert Murdoch, drilling in the Golan Heights, and I believe offshore of Tel Aviv in Israel as well.
Yeah, I like to call the Golan Heights Israeli-occupied Syria. They're building all those settlements there too, you know. But yeah, Glasser they never talk about, and it's the ones that they don't talk about are the ones you really need to look out for. I have some videos on him. He is definitely a key player. You know, it's those ones that aren't in the media, like Kushner too. He's not in the media that often. You know, so these are some big players here.
Steve Pieczenik. Yeah, Brendan O'Connell made a good point. Shout out Brendan. That Pieczenik is rarely attacked by the mainstream media when they attack Alex Jones. Isn't that interesting?
And he's the one that's getting up there saying Parkland's fake, saying Sandy Hook's fake.
Saying Israelis did 9/11, interestingly enough. Yeah.
Because Pieczenik has access. He's got more access than the vast majority of people out there. He's the real deal.
O'Connell's kind of got me tripped out. Like, maybe Pieczenik is trying to like string me into some psyop or something, you know, like, because I just can't. I'm trying to imagine how they let me on and thought that that was in their best interest. Maybe they thought I was gonna not you know, slaughter them like I did. I guess, I don't know.
Well, we'll see. But I think a lot of it has to do with shifting the narrative to the leftist Jews, kind of like what Owen Benjamin's doing right now.
Yeah, I did a super chat to Owen Benjamin. It's telling him, check out my videos exposing Alex Jones and Zionism, and he read it and said, no, he's my friend. I'm not going to do that. What does that even mean?
Well,
and
yeah. And they're really good friends now, because the day after your debate with Owen, I think I mentioned this to you before, but I want to do a video on this because Owen gets a call from, or Owen does a stream later that night when Alex says, I got some stuff to deal with today. I'm not going to be in studio. He looking horrible. Then he calls Owen, and Owen goes on stream that night and talks about he talked to Alex Jones on the phone all day, and they're good buddies. You know, so I see Jones manipulating Owen Benjamin, who's naming the Jays, to sort of shift the narrative to the leftist Jays rather than the entire tribe. So I see Jones using Benjamin as a conduit in the future, and I think the whole climate's going to start shifting in a more a more tightly controlled opposition. But as long as there's people like you and I out there and everybody else that's doing great work, you know, they don't have a chance.
I hope they don't have a chance.
Which is part of what this destabilization of Syria is about. On the board of Genie Energy in Israel, you also see the parent company having people like the Rothschild, Rupert Murdoch, it's of course bipartisan. Bill Richardson is on the board. Dick Cheney is on the board. Okay, these are the people that are surrounding Trump right now. Mike Flynn is not yet a patriot. He needs to speak the truth about September 11th treason that was done by Zionist power in the United States of America. And he wrote his book with Michael Ledeen, the arch neocon who's helping architect the clash of civilization.
Look at that face. That is an uncomfortable face right there. Michael Flynn, their big hero, the big patriot general that they hyped up so much, and his son was tweeting Infowars, and you could tell friends with, you know, all of the Posobics and all these guys, just like Trump's sons are. But Michael writing books with the neocon Michael Ledeen, and also Jones says that Horowitz, who is a well-known neocon, literally old articles from Infowars saying Horowitz is a neocon connected to the people that did 9/11, and then now Jones, I've got the clip at the end of Alex Jones' Art of the Shill, goes, I agree with 95% of what Horowitz says. It's just, but he's not a Zionist. No, Infowars supporters are in the comments saying that I'm crazy. I just see Zionists everywhere. You know, I'm crazy to think that Posobiec and Laura Loomer and Jerome Corsi and Breitbart and Prager, all these people are Zionists. Yeah. You know, it's just
yeah, they're just open about it. They just talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Tommy Robinson, you know.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You need to help us speak these truths. Have on people like Dr. Kevin Barrett, Christopher Bowman.
I appreciate your call. I mean, there you go with who you're saying I should have on. I'm not going to get into that first person you mentioned. See, you just got on air unscreened. You just said what you wanted to, and then it went back to I need to have on. I'm covering up, and it's the same mental illness. Just you do it each time, you know, and then it's you need to.
Well, he's not talking about this stuff. We know about this stuff is out there. Everything he just said about Trump and Michael Ledeen and Flynn and Michael Glassner and Rothschilds, it's all true. And then he just spins it like he won that debate, that exchange, by saying, you're on and you're mentally ill. I mean, God, Jones he's the worst wolf in sheep's clothing. And people go like, oh, don't punch right. He's still fighting the leftists, you know, and he's under attack and stuff. No, he is the one selling us out. He's the traitor on our side. He's the one we have to snuff out first. And, you know, maybe people thought I was going to, like, back down after Infowars let me on. But until they apologize for what they've done and admit they're wrong, I can't stop. Because the truth is on my side, and I'm not going to shut up with the truth. Kay well Griggs, weren't you going to say something about Kay Griggs? Well, we're not there yet. I just saw somebody say it in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's important. But, yeah, we'll talk about that later, I guess.
Okay.
Even though they're on the air.
I understand that.
Okay, so now we know that early on, this is Biden's a Zionist. Most of us have seen that one. So both sides are Zionists. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. Right. Here's Alex Jones doing his COINTELPRO. where he infiltrates yells over the gun thing.
Play this clip real quick. That's important for people to see.
I know,
Just
it's
play
been
that
around for so long, though. I feel like everybody's seen it. I want to get to the new clips with the Special Operations Command.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
People creating racial division.
And then he explains COINTELPRO.
It's not going to be in it.
I want to see this. Who he works for.
And we're going to rouse and rise for humanity to identify who you are, and as you wage war against us. 1776. You know what it's like to go to sleep every night knowing you work for a bunch of psychotic killers and you bastards are probably going to end up killing me one day? You know what it's like knowing you've ruined my life? You know what it's like? You sons of bitches! I'm tired of your crap! When they bust a cap in my head, can you imagine what's going to happen? And that's their plan.
And so I'm just revealing to you here on it.
You work for Time Warner Cable?
Right there.
Is that who you work for?
I work for Alex Jones. Who do you work for?
You work for
I work for Infowars. INFOWARS.com. It's a website. Infowars.com.
Okay, you know, I heard that this was explained because the network that they worked for or something, like that's Time Warner. Just, you know how they have subsidiaries and buy everything. That doesn't mean that he necessarily works for Time Warner, but that's just the studio access that he worked at. And this isn't me covering up for Jones. This is just honestly what I think. It could.
I was going to say that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Their old studio was a Time Warner situation there that they were renting or whatever. Now they use
Yeah, so I got the other one downloading right now so we can play it through, and it starts off with the perfect clip I want to play of Jones on whose show is it? Not Art Bell, but
George
Norrie. Yeah, he's on George Norrie's show, and he talks about Trump literally being hired by the military. Why don't you explain it to us? And then how it ties into Pechenik too. Pechenik saying the same thing with the coup, and then so give us the little rundown before we play these clips, if you could.
Okay, so yeah, this was in early 2016, I believe. This interview. This is the one time Jones talked about Trump being a military intelligence operation, and it went under the radar for a long, long time. And then there was a situation where he mentioned it later on in that one little clip, and that's when we all started talking about it. But go ahead and play this.
Yeah, I was going to say, you have more than one clip of him saying it. He says that Trump was recruited. He was recruited. I mean, in his own words.
I also have multiple clips of him saying much of my staff here are ex-military at super high levels and the highest levels. A lot of my staff are former Legion of Doom, and he's surrounded by them.
His wife, his ex-wife said it too, that he's surrounded by, I think she even said it was Blackwater contractors, like his bodyguards and stuff, or some interesting, I mean, it makes sense to have a militaristic bodyguard though, the best of the best if you're Alex Jones. But at the same time, it's like, okay.
Well, and then they have people, his bodyguard like Quentin Carter. Definitely on his Instagram, he posts his old Blackwater pictures. And then again, Blackwater's heavily associated with the Council for National Policy and Eric Prince and DeVos and the whole deal. So again, I think you see the council acting as a conduit there with these interweaving different groups working with each other. Their little clique.
Absolutely. All right, let's get this going. Here we go.
And so I'm just revealing to you here on air that I was recruited by patriot elements inside the shadow government to take on a communist Chinese funding operation. It's not right.
Interesting. I'm sorry, I'm not going to stop at this every time, but interesting that he says it's China too, because now he's fear-mongering about all this China stuff, that the dialectic is like, and Owen did it with me in the first debate. We're either siding with the Zionists or we're being taken over by the Chi-Coms. Like, this is the setup.
Well, and then again, the Nick Griffin clip, that's exactly what that is, and it's exactly what Owen said. You pick a side. You're with the Zionists, who's giving us money and information and all the whole deal, and they're good, and God's behind them, or you're with the Chi-Coms. I mean, it's this false dichotomy that's so obvious. I mean, once you break through it.
I've got old clips of Jones going like, that you shouldn't take a side, and that taking sides is bad, and both sides are bad. And then I'm going to include it in my video I'm going to do soon called Alex Jones Before and After. I got so many examples. And then nowadays going, it's called choosing a side, and you got to choose a side, and the other side's doing this. And basically, you have a clip of him explaining that exactly that we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, watch Matrix of Evil 2004, Alex Jones. Listen to him talk about the left-right paradigm, the whole deal, like what you were just saying.
Right. Okay,
it's incredible.
And
so I'm just revealing to you here on air that I was recruited by patriot elements inside the shadow government to take on a communist Chinese funding operation. It's not Russian.
You know what? The public deserves to hear this and to get it straight. Now, how did you get Donald Trump on your show 3 times prior to the election? How did you pull that off?
All right, I never tell this on my own show, and this will probably end up being news tomorrow, but you deserve it. I know folks that are part of Delta Force, and I know people that are part of covert action in the Defense Department and the CIA.
I mean, what else do you need to hear? Jones is working with the CIA and Delta Force. He just said it right there. Unless he's lying, he's either a liar or he's a government agent and being used as a Zionist pawn.
He's not lying unless it's like perfect circumstances where he just happens to be surrounded by all these people and working with them, which he is. Man, I forgot. I lost my train of thought. I was going to make a good point there, but I forgot what it was.
Just start talking when you think of it.
And quite frankly, they've given me authorization to talk about this. I have never been in the CIA. I have never been part of covert operations, but
I am now.
I had family. I've had family.
Let me make a point. I remembered what it was.
Yeah.
It's something I haven't mentioned at this point during this show. To understand our military and who dictates our military and these private groups, Blackwater type groups, and the intelligence networks, it's Israel. Think of it as a giant spider web, and that fat spider in the middle is Israel, that dictate our entire intelligence service and military service through the highest levels. I mean, they've completely taken it over. It's out in the open. And Kay Griggs' testimony is a perfect example of that. I've sat there and watched all 7 hours of that. And I highly recommend everybody to do that, because when you get to that portion of the officer class, those are some nasty psychopaths that have no problem manipulating people, have no problem setting up controlled oppositions like Alex Jones, those type of movements, information warfare, mindware operations. Just listen to her testimony. She's a real deal insider.
And Yuri, or I'm going to butcher his name, Yuri Bezmenov, right? He talked about the controlled opposition stuff too, and how it's all infiltrated so much.
Right.
Okay.
I've had family. I've had family that got like 7 silver stars and stuff like that, but it's all classified. Some of the highest decorated people in the country. I'm very proud of those people. They're a lot more manly than I am, and most of them are dead. But people involved.
When he says I have family that are 7 stars and family this, family that, I believe, because he can't have family that was in the revolution ever. I mean, he would have to be lying at some point there. But I believe, he certainly had family when he was in the military. But when he's suggesting family, when he says family, I think he's talking about his little secret group that he's involved with, that family. Just like the mafia, they call themselves family. I think that's exactly what he's mentioning there. My family, all the people that he's associated with through his work, he considers his family, in my opinion, based on my analysis of him and all the people he's around.
Mm-hmm. And since you're mentioning that, I wanted to say one more thing here. We won't play it, but what's known as the parking lot incident, you probably heard of this. Early on in Jones's career, when he was at a radio station or something, he challenged a guy. So the story goes, he challenged a guy to a fight. The guy accepted. They walked outside. The guy beat up Alex and then called the police and threatened that his family was like FBI or CIA or something, that they were all going to get in trouble. And then the police showed up and they sided with Alex's story, and he said that they all jumped him or something like that. And this is there's some people who have gone out and done interviews on this, and I think it's been reported in some local Texas back in the day articles. So anyway, that's the story, and that he was threatening that he had all these government connections, and it seemed like they showed up, and it was actually true. Mm-hmm. Right? That's everything you heard, right? Am I missing anything on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then you start seeing the heavy COINTELPRO type operations, like that previous clip we were playing. He's since moved on from that kind of stuff, but heavy COINTELPRO there for a while.
Regime changes, you name it. Right here in Texas, fighting hard for the Republic. And I was basically contacted by groups inside the Special Forces operations in Florida.
Okay, that's the key word right there. Special Operations in Florida. Mm-hmm. He was recruited by Special Operations in Florida. Isn't that where Joe Biggs is out of, right? Florida?
Joe Biggs is out of. Oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting. No. This is no.
Okay. All
It's
right. Forget it. Sorry, Biggs.
No, I got to remember this. This is important. Fort Bragg, out of Fort Bragg, where even the STDs are, like his T-shirt says.
Okay.
But yeah, Fort Bragg's important. There's a lot of psychological warfare coming out of there. Michael Aquino came out of Fort Bragg. That's an important connection there. The JFK School of Psy-War, I believe, is out of Fort Bragg. So it's no surprise that Joe Biggs ends up at the information warfare operation. After he was in an armored division, he ends up at the information warfare division, or private group here, pushing propaganda all day long.
I've heard that he left and he doesn't like Alex Jones anymore. But remember when he was trolled and he was like, "Oh, we made him look like such a fool when we were asking him some simple questions to shine a little bit of light on him." And him and his buddy Outlaw just like lost it. That video, by the way, got censored, got taken down, which makes me think the Zionists are censoring the Zionists being exposed in that situation, or they're just speaking so vile. They have potty mouths.
It's definitely because Pachenik has talked about how he has massive influence over the Geospatial Center and the newest intelligence agency that he says dictates YouTube. And he told Alex Jones that your channel will be back up, and then a couple days later, his channel was back up. So Steve Pachenik talks about how his people control Google and YouTube for the most part.
He says the military controls everything. He goes, "Oh, we're in total control. We won with Trump and the military and yeah."
So just complete control there. So and then with Joe Biggs, it's like he goes, "What's Zionism?" Like he acts like he doesn't know what Zionism is. So he's obviously perpetuating the psyop.
He said, "You're scared of a tiny little country. You're scared. You're a P word. You're scared of J's." It's like, no, that's not the case. And by the way, when you fly into Tel Aviv, it is like, I was just in LA the other day, and the skyline in Tel Aviv competes big time with the high rises of LA. Actually blows it out of the water. Like I could totally see that being an advanced, like technological center, capital of the world. Right outside of Jerusalem. A little bit away.
Right in the center there, right between everything.
Yep. Okay, here we'll continue on with this.
Inside breakaway groups inside the Central Intelligence Agency and groups basically behind American industry that wanted to defeat the globalists and they're planning to bankrupt America. And so they told me that they were advising Trump on the globalist takeover and that they understood from their demographics and their studies that we actually had.
Cambridge Analytica, their graphics and their studies, Steve Bannon and was it Mercer did Cambridge Analytica, the funder of Breitbart?
Yep. Robert Mercer, yep.
Total data crunching to figure out exactly what they got to say to get people to vote for Trump. Targeted marketing. I saw a whole documentary about that recently. The way that Google is able to sway public influence in elections is absolutely insane. The way that companies are able to, like Netanyahu and advanced technology in Israel, they're going to be using artificial intelligence to go through all this mass data, and it's so insane.
Conservatively, 15 million people a week visiting Infowars.com, and tens of millions watching our videos, and that they had briefed the president, or now then candidate Trump, and that they wanted to attempt a counter coup against the globalists. And so I'm just revealing to you here on air that I was recruited by patriot elements inside the shadow government to take on a communist Chinese funding operation. It's not Russian. And I was contacted because...
So stupid, because China and Israel are working together so much to set up the New Belt and Road Initiative and trading all the advanced technology and manufacturing.
Yeah, you can't understand China if you don't understand Israel, the back door into the West. I mean, you can't understand any of it if you don't understand their position in it.
So he's lying. This is not true. Or maybe part of it's true, but then he's spinning it with what the lie is, the lie that he's supposed to run with. So some truth, pretending like he's being transparent, but then spinning it with a little bit of the spin at the end, and really hiding. He still said the globalists in there. I mean, I've documented it, and so many people have known for so long that the New World Order is all from Jerusalem. Go to WorldNet Daily, your buddies over there, Joseph Farah, and see what they're saying about the Noahide laws and the altar and the third temple and the Moshiach and the end times. Jones acts like he doesn't know, but he has Trey Smith and Michael Snyder on, who goes on the Jim Baker show. It's just like inundated with Zionists, but nope. Infowars supporters somehow think that I'm imagining all these Zionists everywhere.
It's called weaponized truth, and there's military documents that whether we get into it tonight or I do it on my own terms, it's a mind war. It's the idea of weaponized truth, using radio and TV broadcasts to bombard your subconscious to lure people in with weaponized truth. So you're going to mention China, but you're going to exclude Israel, the key, most important part of the situation. That's what that is.
Absolutely.
People in the hit teams in the government were actually being given dossiers and training on people they were going to kill.
And then this is
George.
Do you go over it again
I don't
later?
make stuff up. Let's just say this: the
Go
entire
over what?
echelon of patriots, particularly you, the second biggest show in the country. Your name was not listed, but it was listed as just anyone who had influence, even if they were a liberal, was to be wiped out because I can't believe I'm telling this right now. I'm just going to go all the way right now. And the situation in Syria and Egypt and our friends in Israel. You say people want to demonize Israel all day. It's because the real folks that are in Israel, the real people, understand what it is to be persecuted and targeted. And Israel, with Benjamin Netanyahu, they're trying to remove from office right now. Again, I was never even a fan of Netanyahu. I wasn't an enemy. I just wasn't studying it. Have come to America's aid to defeat this and
come to America's aid. Oh my God! I put out a video last week called "Alex Jones loves Benjamin Netanyahu" and didn't get this clip. I just want to punch myself in the head and just like give up my YouTube channel. That's how frustrating I am. I always forget something, no matter what video it is. I forget something crucial.
Happens every time. Happens to me too.
Did you hear that? Our friends in Israel, and they've been persecuted in Netanyahu. I never meant the bad stuff I said about him. I researched it more now, and oh my God.
It's infuriating. Yeah, it's just infuriating. And like I said, the Republicans would be so useful if they weren't subverted with that kind of information.
It's really, really frustrating to know that all the accusations about you being a Zionist after all this time and denying it, and it's all true. Like for a while, like Jones was one of the only people I thought like could be legit, like the only hope that was out there, because I was still stuck on the paradigm. By design, fell into his trap and then got sucked in before I could go find other good researchers. And it was a different time back then too, you know, early on in YouTube, like 2008. Like YouTube started in like 2006 or something. I was in college, you know, playing basketball, hardly paying attention. All right, here we go.
This is what you're seeing right now. This is toe-to-toe battle with the globalists, and they were going to shut down free speech. They were going to probably
Is he eating those words? They were gonna shut down free speech. Look what happened to him now.
Yeah. Well, and then they also still might with Trump. I mean, Trump signed some really gnarly executive orders that could completely dictate the media within this country.
That's right. So, I don't know if it's in this video, but tell us about the executive orders real quick.
Yeah, he signed a ton of them. One didn't state a state of emergency, which who knows what that's going to turn out to be. It could just be for propaganda purposes or whatever. But they're
all cheerleading for telling him to declare national emergency right now over the border.
Yeah, they are now. But they were real quiet about it before, which led me to believe that they were going to use it at some point probably. And then he also privatized everything. So he set up a private judge advocate community if he ever wants to do tribunals where it's all privatized. He has his own private military with Eric Prince and Mike Pompeo, where they're setting up their own private spy network.
In Feinberg.
That Intercept article is very important. When you have your own private SS, you can do a lot of stuff. And you see Trump making these moves. It's almost like the opposite of deep state, where or like a different version of it, where it's the mafia dictating the intelligence agencies instead of the other way around with Trump. It's very interesting.
Yeah, his wife was saying something along those lines too, but I forgot what you were just saying. My brain farted. Here we go. Play this again.
Arrest me, and I was shown all the data transmissions, all the information. I was shown WikiLeaks, all of it, before it was even, they're going to subpoena me. They're coming after me right now.
Whoa, he just admitted. Hey, where's Mueller for that? Right? Roger Stone's on trial saying, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what was in the WikiLeaks. Wow, did I just...
Yes.
I don't want to go hand something to Mueller, but I mean, like, they're lying. He just said that they had it all.
Well, it just goes to show you that they're all it's all big circus, big dog and pony show. The left gets what they want out of it. The right gets what they want out of it. I mean, like I said before in the other show that we've done, if they wanted to do something with this Russia gate, this Soviet Israel gate, they would have done something before Trump was elected. That's the only time it would have been affected. Other than that, it's just propaganda and it's just division. That's all it is.
I remember I saw them bring up Felix Sater, which is, you know, a loose knot, a smoking gun that you can find some hard evidence of Russian collusion there. And they were like, they asked Mueller about Felix Sater, I think it was, and then it was like he dismissed it right away. And it was like they didn't talk about it anymore. I was like, whoa. But anyway, wow, that's an admission that he just said. WikiLeaks, he knew about WikiLeaks beforehand. He knew what was in it. He just said it. That Roger Stone should be going to jail now just because he just admitted that right there. This should be in front of Congress.
All the data. And doesn't that kind of statement give more credence to Posobic's patch, in God we trust, all others we monitor, all the information that he was privy to? You know, it just goes to show you, are they any different? No, of course not. They're using the same NSA spy grid, to illegal spy grid to spy on everybody. It's no different here. It's just different rhetoric.
You mean naval intelligence undercover Jack Posobiec, the proud Zionist organization attendee?
I mean, look at that. That makes me sick to see that thing. I mean, that is so illegal. I mean, the kind of spying that they do is so illegal. And then with our electronics these days, oh man, they can really access whatever they want.
In God we trust, all others we monitor. Look, the all-seeing eye is monitoring us. The all-seeing eye in the sky. Isn't that so nice, Posobiec? Wasn't he like? Didn't he get outed or doxxed and was like? Didn't come out right away and say that he was naval intelligence? Correct.
Yeah, shout out to 4chan for that. They totally put the pieces together. Yeah, naval intelligence. Trump was promoting him before he got doxxed. And then it came out, and then Trump kind of backed off, and then Jones gave him a slot on Infowars. But, of course, he never mentioned his Navy past until way on.
Yep. I tweeted at him that he's a Zionist, and he retweeted it and said, yep, I'm a proud Zionist, but... You know, can't tell Owen that, right? That's not evidence of anything that you're surrounding with Zionists, pushing the Zionist narrative and suppressing anything that makes Zionism or Trump or Israel look bad, you know?
Yeah.
Walks like a duck, talks like a duck.
So I'm just fighting for America. I'm 100% committed, and that's why they're coming after me. And
But this is what got Donald Trump to say, I got to be on this guy's show?
I mean, Donald Trump was advised by... the Special Forces Command out of Florida. They said
to go on your program.
I mean, come on. He works for Special Operations Command out of Florida. Trump works for Special Operations Command out of... They're all recruited, probably with Steve Pieczenik. And go ahead, you can break the seal. This is their logo.
Yes, the tip of the spear right there, which Jones, I made this connection in 2017, so 2 years ago I was talking about the tip of the spear. Jones referencing himself to the tip of the spear. And that's what that is. That's the Special Operations Command logo. It was started in the 80s, and it's an Army unit. And what it does is it oversees everything, naval units, everything. It operates pretty much everything. And the tip of the spear, I've heard an allegory that it's the first part of the spear to enter, to penetrate an enemy. So, you know, there's maybe some esoteric reasons for it. But yeah, it's just SOCOM is like the top of the top when you're getting as far as the Army goes. And of course they're going to be the ones that recruit and run operations and psyops like Donald Trump.
Yeah. And don't call me a conspiracy theorist. I mean, what does Owen say to this? If Owen's watching or any Infowars fan, how do you reconcile this that he's not an agent? Unless you go with just the Q and the Zionists and all these guys are going to, you know, save us from the Chi-Coms. That's the only way you could buy it.
I mean, it's laughable. It really is laughable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who actually, I mean, let's just say it, the enemy already knows all this. Let me just say, so everybody listening knows I'm telling the truth. Special Operations Command in Florida, the Delta Force, Army, Black Ops, Army's the oldest thing in America. It's before the Constitution, anything. They said, sir, you need to go with Alex Jones. And you need to rally the troops, and they briefed him. They showed him the documents, and they said, "We need you to run." And this was a year before he came on with me, and he went to Scotland for 6 months and didn't want to do it. He knew they'd just come after him.
This is BS. This is the fake story. They had it planned for him to run for decades. In this new documentary, Active Measures, they talk about how there was people trying to push Trump to run. But Roger Stone says it in his documentary, Get Me Roger Stone. They were trying to get him to run way back in the early Roy Cohn days when he was coming up in Manhattan.
Yep, and then you see all the predictive programming with that as well. And then also, I think Jones has said it before, that Trump was in JBS meetings and they were trying to push him to run for president.
He says it in your videos. Yeah, he knows it all. His father donated to JBS. And for people that don't know, that was like the kosher conspiracy kind of right-wing libertarian movement back around Goldwater, Goldwater. And that it was to push like fluoride in the water and other conspiracies to kind of deflect, like Jones is doing now, deflect from the real strings of power, levers of power.
Exactly. It's important to understand the history where we came from to get to where we're going.
Thanks for coming on, Matt. This has been a great show. Everybody's
thanks for having
learning a lot, and this is incredible info that we have to get out there. Devastating to Infowars. Even though he admits it, just, we got to really make sure it's put out there.
Right.
This is his family. And, the Delta Force basically asked Trump, Delta Force, founded by General Boykin and Schumacher and people like Dr. C. Pachenik of Psychological Operations of the CIA.
Jones is psychological. He is a CIA psyop working with Steve Pachenik and Special Operations Command with Trump. You can go to Steve Pachenik's channel, which he was never showed his face for years until Trump came around and he started showing his face. He had a YouTube channel, and every day around the election, he's like, "We're having a coup. The military's having a coup. We won." And he goes, "We won. We have our people in place everywhere. The military is running." They're setting up like a military dictatorship under Trump, essentially, right?
Well, they could, yeah. They absolutely could. I don't know. It depends on what direction they want to go with it. If they wanted to enact the martial law and move in Trump's private military, they could. And they could pretty much do whatever they wanted, especially with the amount of domestic military and police support they have. They could absolutely do it. But I don't know. That could be part of the PSYOP as well. Just time will tell, I guess.
They basically delivered the message to Trump with all the dossiers and all the proof of what was happening. And he just said, "You're highly recommended." All I can say is we're going to be talking a lot more because he was being briefed by top generals. I'm not going to say the name on what we're doing. And it's not that I'm even special. I'm willing to say this. I'm willing to do this. I wasn't directed by anybody. I was just aware of the operations. I was studying it. As you know, you're a Navy guy yourself. And we just did what we had to do. We did a counter coup against him. And the economy's roaring back. Most people are behind us.
I love how the economy now, the stock market is like an indicator of how well things are actually doing. That's the 1% doing well, and it's all fake and rigged anyway. And it always never used to mean anything. And Ron Paul still says this now, like, you shouldn't be owning the stock market because then you're going to have to own the crash too.
Yep.
I just saw a good comment from Urban Moving, who's a channel I've been hearing a lot about. He says that the JBS was like put out the idea that Israel was 0% communist, and kind of reminded me of like the McCarthy hearings, how Roy Cohn was the guy in there to kind of make sure that it didn't go, the investigation didn't go into certain places.
Roy Cohn was a JBS member.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's exactly right. And that's where a lot of your mainstream, that person said, they wanted to make sure that people don't associate Soviet Russia with Israel. And the amount of Soviet Jays that migrated there and all the rest of it.
Jays, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's get around the algorithms.
Right.
People know what we're saying.
I'd say 90% of the CIA, Defense Intelligence, military, special ops is behind us.
Amazing story, Alex. You just get him to stop tweeting as much as he does.
And it just reminds me, he just said all the military's behind him from the very beginning with them pushing his documentary out and putting the little wink, knowing that would make him popular and get him, start his career.
There's a good Pachenik clip you might want to play after this.
Okay.
But it's on YouTube if you're able to do that.
Okay, we can see.
They say that, George. You're getting the absolute data dump right now. They say don't do all that. They don't want him communicating. Sure, some of his tweets aren't perfect, but they want to shut him down. They want to gag him so that he can't get the information out to the people. I mean, do you understand? On your show right now, I am telling people, because I know it's 10 times bigger than mine, when it comes to actual human people on the ground, I am telling you all this information. This is real. This is happening, okay? What I'm telling you is what is going on and what is happening, and Trump is literally with a breakaway group in our government
trying to turn the
Zionist.
economy back on, trying to save the society, and fighting as hard as he can.
Hold on, Alex.
Just like the Rothschilds are trying to bring wealth back to the country. You know, this is his narrative now. Yeah, the Israel lobby are patriots, and they're waking up, and here comes Netanyahu with the cavalry. Oh my God, I cannot believe it.
So we're going to take a break, Alex.
Okay.
Phase 2. Oh, good thing. Army, the CNP, and JBS.
CNP. When's the CNP documentary coming out?
Like I said, whenever I'm able to upload, once I get my storage situation figured out on my MacBook, but hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. Exposing the CNP and Jerome Corsi and all that stuff.
Jerome Corsi is
right. Who was running scams? That
December.
A scam that he was running, you know, where they screwed investors in Minnesota again, like Genesis, out of a bunch of money, and he set up the Brania Birth with the Russian mafia. That's who he was running it with in Poland. Set up the Brania Birth Mutual Fund. That's how he introduced himself. I mean, Corsi's just a total criminal.
You're telling me Corsi is connected to the B'nai B'rith?
Oh yeah, openly.
Really?
Yeah.
That is disgusting. We trolled him too, and he says USS Liberty was a long time ago. Get all these anti-Semites out of here.
Well, Corsi claims to be anti-establishment, but he supports things like the AT&T Time Warner merge. You know, I mean, he is a corporate shill. He's the biggest corporate shill I've ever seen, and I can't believe anybody falls for him. You know, he's frustrating.
But protecting President Trump, the people are going to...
Elon Musk is your Ford.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that I'm emphasizing and kind of trying to bring public the degree to which the military has been increasingly involved, not only in advising but protecting President Trump.
There's more that the military's funding him. Okay, is the Joe Rogan clip in here? Do you know?
This is what the president should be doing.
It should be at the end of this.
Okay, just so you guys know, want to watch this without interruptions. Don't comment that I interrupted too much. I know I do it, but go watch the whole thing for yourself if you want to see it uninterrupted. Go to Matthew's channel. Links are in the description. Trump deception. Who's this creepy looking guy? I don't like the look of him.
JBS. John Burns. This took place on my birthday. This is this was 2017, February 22nd, and it's just interesting. It was exactly what I was researching at the time, all the information, and then he pulls up Corsi and then this JBS guy, and then they talk about Trump with the military connections. It was just, I was like, well, thanks. That's a nice birthday present, you know.
Okay, so Corsi, we're already coming up on 2 hours, so I want to go to the Rogan one. So what are some of these things that we're playing right here?
I'm talking over it.
Okay.
It's just background B-roll.
All right. It's saying it's a theater, basically. Oh,
Right.
I like this clip. This is
usually that's what happens.
Here's good old Rob Dew, who refuses to acknowledge me when I message him on Twitter, and he says, has nothing to say about any of this stuff. What?
Key word, he says we get people fighting with each other. So he's putting himself in with all the other media companies. We get people fighting with each other.
It's exactly what they're doing. They're
Right.
totally playing into the left-right game, which they never used to do. Or at least
There's always gonna
There's
always going to be communists, just like there's always going to be John Birchers.
Slant it just a little bit to keep you over in this paradigm shift. Mainly it's the left-right paradigm, where we get people fighting each other. Now, there's always going to be hardcore commies.
That's exactly what all our sources from the FBI and the Pentagon, which means the CIA.
Oh my God, more Pentagon CIA sources, and also it reminds me of when he goes about the Rothschilds. Yeah, I heard from my CIA source that he said, watch, the Rothschilds are going to bring wealth back to the country, and they're with Trump, and oh my God.
And if he actually believes that, he's being totally manipulated. You know, if he actually buys that, which sometimes I think he does.
Oh, I don't think so.
Probably doesn't, but if he does.
CIA connected Pentagon, that's special operations. That's what they told us. And these are the good guys that continue to give us good info. Doesn't mean the whole thing's good. There's a civil war in America right now. One group wanted to totally sell out the communist Chinese. That's coming up in the next segment. The other group isn't out to rape America completely.
He's talking about the Zionists. That he's saying he's going with the lesser of two evils. It's with the Zionists, but he's not telling you that. He's lying to you and just shilling and saying they're the greatest, and the liberals are everything bad. It's total compromised and selling out, and he knows it 100%.
And then also rape us. They just rape us a little bit. Like you just want to be raped a little bit. Like what does that turn into? That turns into full blown rape. You know what I mean?
And what are their plans with Trump, the third temple, ruling the world? We're all going to be their slaves. Like this is not hyperbole. This is what they're saying in their own words everywhere. The Supreme Court of mankind from Jerusalem, as prophesied by Isaiah. The Noahide laws they're basically bringing in Noahide law here. It's already here in 1990 with Bush, always talking about New World Order. But now the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, the anti-BDS bills, the Anti-Semitism Czar and Envoy. I mean, it's getting absolutely insane. They're going to make it so no criticizing at all. Otherwise, the death penalty or prison. I can definitely see that happening. Under Noahide laws, that's what it says.
Yeah. And all you Christian Zionists, Shabbos goys, think you're going to get a spot at the table. You're not. You're goyim. There's no way that they're going to give you any position of power. So if you think you're selling out for power or access or money, it's not going to work out for you in the end. You're going to be the slave just like everyone else.
The rabbi interviewed recently at the Sanhedrin says that, like, they go, what's going to happen? What is the Moshiach going to do to the people that don't submit to his reign, essentially? And he goes, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, he doesn't want to tell you. And we know. Also, Chabad, they write that, oh, everything will be fine for the non-Jews as long as you go along with our rules, essentially. So it's... Yeah. And then even then they say that we're going to, we're only here to serve them, Yosef and some of the top rabbis over there.
So you're kind of stuck between that. But on a rant here, the point is that I'm glad that McBreen remembered this, because this is the truth. Trump.
McBreen's another one that used to talk to me, but now has since blocked me and won't respond to anything. Like lots of people at Infowars. Yeah.
I don't know why, because Darren. Dude, you've been there for what, 10 years now, 9 years, something like that, and you were on the front lines. You were doing your own shows, doing your own special reports. Now Jones has you in the back behind Owen. You're in the back making ads for Aleksander and bone broth. I mean, come on, how do you have respect for that guy? He just shoved you in the back, gave Owen your position, and said, "Darren, here you go. You're a veteran. Go work on Aleksander ads."
There's a clip. There's a clip, like a super cut of Alex Jones interrupting his guests, and the worst one is what he did. He used to get Gucciardi so bad, which is why he disappeared and fell off the face of the earth. He does it to Owen all the time too. I sympathize, as well as all his guests. But Darren McBreen, they put a little compilation, and McBreen was getting so pissed he kept cutting him off and wouldn't let him talk at all. They hate us right now. They really do. Or maybe the employees like us, but Alex Jones has to hate this because we're hurting him so bad, but at the same time have some respect because he knows. I mean, we didn't change. He's the one that changed and flipped the script and went off the course and went off the radar. It's lying. There we go.
Is not in a secret society. He was so real, him and his dad played possum for decades while they were planning all this.
Jones has been playing possum for decades.
Yep.
Again, his dad, I've confirmed from the highest levels, massive amounts of money to the John Birch Society in the 50s and 60s.
His dad also donated bigly to Jewish causes and built synagogues in New York and the JBS.
Yep, and it's so exactly that goes hand in hand. Why would he be funding the Jewish groups while at the same time funding these other groups? Because they push the kosher conspiracies, because they play right into the J hidden hand. They play right into the Zionist hidden hand. It's a key part of the puzzle.
Just so people know that I'm not just throwing out nonsense. Reports: Trump family donated bigly to Jewish Israeli causes. 50 years ago, real estate development. And then at APEC, Trump goes, yeah, I've been a huge fan of Israel all my life. This is paraphrasing. With my father before me. So his father was mobbed up already with the Soviet Jewish Russian mob, who in this new documentary, Active Measures, they go, yes, the immigration at this time, all of the Soviet Russian Jews came over and then got with Trump in Manhattan, laundering money in all of his apartments and stuff.
Yep.
Same thing with people like Donald Trump. And I've talked to the old guys that have been in the meetings just 2 days ago with Trump 25 years ago saying, I wish somebody'd run to stop this, I'd get behind him. He didn't even want to. When he says that, he doesn't need to do that to feel powerful. He was looking for somebody to back. They never showed up. Just like he says in speeches, they never came along. I've talked to people that were in the meetings 25 years ago.
He's talking about Corsi, I believe, because Corsi was John Birch, and I know that Corsi came on when Trump was running and said, I've known Trump for 40 years, and he's a patriot, and he supports Israel, and all this stuff. And that's who gave, like, the validation. And then Jones was like, oh, yeah, I like Trump now. Corsi says he's the real deal. As if that's the validation, Zionist Corsi. Yeah.
You're probably right there. You're probably right. I never made that connection.
Yeah, could be.
When Trump was saying, who do we get to do this? So there's a real war going on in the elite right now. Don't think Trump just did this on his own. He was recruited by patriots and U.S. intelligence agencies, for a fact. Trump was recruited by the U.S. Army. That's a big secret, but you deserve to know what the Democrats already know.
I've never seen him say, like, he's making these statements and he's saying, it's the truth and I'm telling you the secret and this is the real deal. Like, he's really emphasizing how true this all is. Over the top.
You deserve to understand what's really going on. We were being held underwater.
But they're not doing anything with the power that we know of. What they do have is tremendous wealth, like off the charts tremendous wealth at Apple, at Google. I mean, they just have tremendous amount of influence. And I think when you have...
They have their R&D centers over in Israel. Google hired a VP that's from Israel. They're backdoored and working with the ADL, which is basically a spy organization for Israel.
That kind of money, like idealistic hippie left-wing dreamers, are way better off like throwing that money around than like really gangster globalists that are pro-war, really enthusiastic about right-wing politics. Like, that would be way scarier if all that money, the billions of dollars, was in a Christianic cult that thought that the second coming was going to happen in Jerusalem, so it was very important to protect Israel, which is real.
I'm sure, I know Trump's already doing this, but
there we go. That's the Rogan clip. I'm glad that was on there. How about that? Rogan just saying everything that I'm covering. Rogan should have me on to talk about my Alex Jones. Since they're beefing, everybody tweet to Rogan and have him get me on to expose Jones as an agent. He'll like that. And the third temple, he just said it right there. They like war, they're right wing, they're pro-Israel, they want to rebuild the temple and have these end times and rule forever with the Noahide laws.
Yep.
When they're organizing violence and moving, and I can see they're moving with it behind the scenes, it's time for covert action, and it just has to happen. So if people kind of see Infowars as a bellwether where the people sit, I'm just saying, I think the president and the military has to do what it has to do at this point. I mean, it would be negligent to sit here at this point.
There you go. Awesome. Anything else that we didn't get to that you want to say or play before we wrap it up? Right under 2 hours is perfect, and we got to finish both of those awesome videos.
Let me just get through. I have to get this out there. Let me just mention what this is my opinion on what I think the genesis of the information warfare operation is, the mind war. And this it comes out of a revolution in military affairs, in my opinion, and I'll explain why. Broadly stated, RMAs is a RMAs claims that in certain periods of history of humankind, there were new tactics and doctrines, strategies, and technologies which led to inconceivable change in the conduct of warfare. Furthermore, these changes compelled an acceleration and adaptation of novel doctrines and strategies. RMA is a sudden change in power relationships between two or more political actors as a consequence of changes in the variables other than the economic and whatever. So to apply a historical example, this is coming from a professor who studied it with a general. To apply this is the macro of what RMAs is, broadly stated. To apply it in historical examples, the French Revolution, which was a result of the combination of mismanagement by the out-of-touch ruling class and new ideas which emerged from the quote-unquote Enlightenment. Napoleon, who was a Rothschild pawn at the time, did not grasp when his window of opportunity closed, and he failed to cement his political concessions. And that's what you see going on with Trump. So RMA and the kind of warfare, information warfare, that term comes out of revolution in military affairs. That's where that term comes from. And then also mind war. So we look at in information warfare is anything from mimetic warfare like memes to radio and TV broadcasts to like the Air Force definition of going after enemy computer systems and tied in with electronic warfare. But broadly stated, information warfare is a propaganda war waged via electronic media. And that's not a mistake that Jones chose that name. So the origin of revolution in military affairs is a concept that has its roots in the Soviet Union. It was Soviet theories that were in the early 80s. The Soviets were theorizing, and they called it something else. Information revolution is what they called it. So the theorizing of the Soviets was done in the 70s. So what happened was a guy named Michael Aquino and Paul Vallely, who's a military analyst at Fox. Aquino's a Setian Satanist. Vallely is a Christian Zionist, hardcore Christian Zionist associated with the CMP. They promoted his work, the Soviet theorizing, the Soviet theories for future warfare, which is also in Project for the New American Century. They said post 9/11, we need to implement the future Soviet warfare theories within this country. So they wrote a document called Mind War. And Sherry Seymour, the one who blew a lot of the information open on the PROMIS Gate situation, claims that, based on her research, the Mind War paper virtually spawned revolution in military affairs, which checks out. Aquino was heavily associated with the Soviets through Esalen and different things like that, working on thought architecture or subconscious manipulation. So Andrew Marshall is the guy who initially implemented it. I sent you clips of Steve Pachenik talking about Andrew Marshall, heavily involved in 9/11, and then also heavily involved in RAND, and is also involved in the Soviet Tel Aviv, Moscow, New York triangle, heavily involved in that as well. So that introduced things like, so they called it, so this is a quote from it, the third wave, quote, new age ideas into military long-range planning. So that's key too, long-range planning, which introduced such notions as information warfare and cyber warfare into the Pentagon's lexicon. So Aquino is a self-described Setian who's founded the Church of Satan, or took it from Anton LaVey. He was always with Anton LaVey from pretty much the beginning. And then an interesting side note here is MAGA, M-A-G-A, is the 5th degree of initiation within the Temple of Set. So that's just an interesting.
And also, it's like
synchronicity.
Krav Maga, the secret fighting of Israeli commando fighting.
Krav Maga. I know what you're talking about.
Krav Maga. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, but also, okay, so what you have here, and then Aquino was heavily associated. He was the first space officer. So, and this is a common theme you see too, where space is heavily associated with PR and Psywar. Those are connections that you'll keep seeing when you look into it. So, but what you have, an interesting thing you have going on here is you have General Vallely, a hardcore Christianic Zionist cult member, working with a Satanist, a self-proclaimed Satanist, and then. Vallely's a Fox News senior military analyst, and he works for the Center for Security Policy, which is a think tank that pushes the war on terror. Their main narrative is that the war on terror is between Islam and Judeo-Christianity. So that's the key deception there, Islam versus Christianity. That's what's going on. Quote, that's what's going on. If you don't understand that, then you don't get it. Okay, Vallely is also a supporter of the Jerusalem Summit, which is all about relocate and resettle Palestinians, and is an advocate for their mission that, quote, that one of the objectives of Israel's divinely inspired rebirth is to make it the center of the new unity of all nations, which will lead to an era of peace, prosperity foretold by the prophets. So that's the kind.
And where's that from? That's from
Vallely.
Michael Aquino's book?
No, this is from Paul Vallely, the guy who promoted with Michael Aquino, who wrote Mind War with Michael Aquino. Which ultimately led to information warfare and mind war and things like that. And then I sent you a clip. We probably won't be able to play it, but I have clips of Alex Jones. I'm going to lay this out on my channel at some point. I have clips of Alex Jones referencing his operation as a mind war operation, And I also have him saying my weapon is the truth. So he's aware of its existence, and he also references it in association with his broadcast. So just Jones is totally a mind war operative, in my opinion. It's all about mind war's core structure is using radio and TV broadcast to bombard your subconscious.
Aleister Crowley said that Hollywood was his like means of getting Satanism out, like the best tool for spreading his Satanism. I remember hearing that recently. Also, Aleister Crowley's son traveled to Israel and met with Moshe Dayan, the patch military leader in the 1960s of Israel, famous Israeli leader. So both of their sons met, and they said that the Israelis said, yeah, we practice Satanism basically in Israel. It's the same thing. I believe that's in his book too.
Yeah, I believe you're talking about Anton LaVey's Satanism,
which
is based in Thelema and stuff like that. And you're exactly right. In Hollywood, it is so much more rampant than you would think. And it's think about it in terms of like Scientology, which is also rooted in Thelema, Aleister Crowley's thing. It's a method of control and ultimately dominance, like mind control and dominance, a way to control people. It's really rampant in Hollywood. And then it's also interesting how it ties into everything. It seems like all these different religious things come out of, all these Zionist things come out of things like Thelema and these Satanist ideas. But yeah, so I just wanted to mention that the core structure of mind war is using radio and TV broadcasts to bombard your subconscious with the controlled narrative, while simultaneously picking back things like subliminal involuntary side controls. And Jones has been caught using subconscious messages. If you type in what do you type in? Alex Jones, it might not be there anymore, but there was in his police state movies, he was doing the subliminal flashes for fear and submit. You know, so he's been caught doing them, and then his whole studio is set up the way his background moves. His whole studio is set up that way. I saw a video on it a long time ago, and it was like showing how all of his graphics are so similar to like mainstream media, Fox News and stuff, how they have the circles and the concentric circles, and it's like almost puts you in a hypnotic state with the stuff in the background. And speaking of subliminal, this is one of my favorite subliminals I've noticed at Infowars, when he's talking about why is Obama putting Israel in the crosshairs. They have the Dome of the Rock in the crosshairs, which you know is sort of a target for some of them over there. So that could be a coincidence, or this could be, he knows something. Because he's also put out disinfo, I've played it before, saying that the Muslims are going to blow up the Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock because, when we all know that the Muslims, that's their holiest site, and they would be the last ones to do it, when the Christians or the Jews would be, upset. They've tried it before, and they really want to. Yeah. Yeah, and so let me just wrap this up real quick, because I need to lay this out on my channel for it to make a lot more sense. But I want to wrap it up by mentioning it's the future Soviet warfare theories, revolution in military affairs, in association with the project for the new American century. So post 9/11, we see them moving, the international J's moving so quick to instate their one world end times prophecy. So this comes from this, and I think this is going to be very important in the future. This comes from PNAC, Rebuilding America's Defenses. Control the new international commons of space and cyberspace, and pave the way for the creation of a new military service, U.S. Space Forces, with a mission of space control. Increased defense funding, adding $15 to $20 billion in totals. Exploit the revolution in military affairs, transformation to high-tech unmanned weaponry, information warfare, etc., to ensure the long-term superiority of U.S. forces. And then also I want to mention, because it ties in with RMAs too, when Jones goes to Hawaii, when he's in Kauai, he's at something called the Pacific Sands, let me see here, Pacific Barking Sands missile facility, okay, and it's a workcation. He's claimed it. So that is a chosen destination for subcontractors and U.S. military people, where they want to have a vacation and they want to work at the same time. And so this is important to understand. He goes to these military bases and vacations there. He's got to be a subcontractor to pretty much do that. And it's a multi-dimensional facility.
That's when he met with the Coptic Christian, you think? Remember over there in Hawaii, he interviewed the Coptic Christian that said, "Oh, Trump is, you know, anointed by God, and it's all spiritual, and they're defeating the demons and stuff."
It could have been. It's specifically in Kauai. I know he bounces all over the place, but he spends a lot of his time.
He's mentioned Kauai a bunch of times. Like, that's where he's going to go retreat to or something if there's a World War III.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so, multidimensional warfare. That's another key part of it. Multi-dimensions. There's multiple dimensions. Now, you could apply that to, like, conventional warfare with tanks and air, sea, and land and boats, but you could also apply it to psychological warfare, with information, with bots. So multi-dimensions to your operation. So I just wanted to leave it on that note, and hopefully I'm going to be able to lay that out on my channel.
Black
with visuals.
pillin'. You're black pillin', Matthew North. That's my new term, I guess. Also, I'm glad you mentioned the plane in Hawaii, because that reminded me of something we wanted to talk about. When Jones and his crew left D.C., they were getting on the plane, they were recording, and there was an announcement, next stop, Florida, going to Florida, and they all kind of looked around and then continued the video, but it's like, Florida, Special Operations Command.
Tampa, specifically.
He's the one saying it. This is not conspiracy. I mean, every info warrior should know Alex Jones works for Special Operations Command. He's telling you. It's not me telling you. It's not me saying it. I'll get comments too, and for sure, saying that we're lying and there's no proof that he works with the CIA, even though he said it repeatedly in here.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. Just like the evidence of him being a Zionist is overwhelming.
And undeniable. And while you were talking there about the Space Force and stuff, you know, Trump announces Space Force with and then there. You know, which is basically Zionist Space Force, because that's who's running his campaign. And then Israel and NASA signs agreement with Israel Space Agency, of course. And here's one I learned from the Securing Our Interest guys. All these binational science agreements that they've had for decades that I believe Kissinger put into place, maybe even, but that might be wrong. But U.S.-Israel Binational Science Foundation, there's several more where we're just giving our taxpayer DARPA advanced technology, handing it all over for them to, you know, take from us. And what we don't hand over, they spy also with Pollard and nuclear triggers and all that kind of stuff. Dangerous stuff we're talking about here. Okay. Is that all, Matt? We ready to wrap it up? I'm out of water and have to pee.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I think it was a good show. Thanks everybody for watching. I had fun tonight. It was a kind of a fun subject to cover. I think we got a lot of really important information out as well. So thanks for having me on again,
Some
Adam.
stuff that I've been missing. Some stuff stuff that needed its own show with all of your great work. And you guys, there's so many good videos here on his channel about John Birch and all these topics we've been covering. Chabad, John Birch Society, Crowley, Zionism. This is a really good documentary here too. I heard about that one. That was really nice. So links are in the description. Make sure to sub to Matt if you haven't. He's a truther prodigy in my eyes. Thanks for coming on. And of course, if you're not already, No More News, because this is on No More News too. So subscribe to No More News and nomorenews.org. Videos like this are made possible thanks to donations. I'm 100% supported by you guys. So donate button here, a couple dollars a month goes a long way to bringing you more content like this. Thanks for watching, guys. Signing off with Matthew North. Bye, guys. Say bye, Matt.
Bye.